Oh, God. Yeah. Here we are again. Hello, greetings, 7:47 Central Time, the United States of America. So I've been watching a little bit of this Elizabeth Holmes nonsense. If you don't know anything about Elizabeth Holmes, you're going to find out shortly what this whole thing was about. And you just can't help but think to yourself, were the men involved in this, were they just thinking with their penises? Did they not use their wait a minute. I'm gonna let this play, and I'm gonna go get some beer because I forgot to do that.
When you try to change things, people react to it. Whenever there's a quote-unquote glass ceiling, there's an iron woman right behind it. Well, here at Theranos, we are saying goodbye to the big bad needle and saying hello to the nanotainer. Just a pinprick of the finger. I dropped out of Stanford because I am a genius. I've done something that is transformative. Our machine is made of Legos. If I am what I eat, I am green juice. My favorite place to vacation is dancing in my office. One word that would best describe me would be mission oriented. First,
this is Nicole Travolta, who does a hell of an impression of Elizabeth Holmes. Okay, are we at the end?
They call you crazy.
Yeah. Now then, they call him a saint.
And they maybe call you a freak.
Where the hell's Rusty
then
Rivers?
You scam everybody.
Yeah.
And you change the world.
This is Elizabeth
All of a sudden,
Holmes.
you change the world. San Francisco paper and Fortune, I talked about it in an interview I did with Forbes.
Theranos CEO Elizabeth Holmes conned investors, employees, and media outlets for more than a decade before she was finally caught.
But I mean, she's got tits and shit, so why wouldn't we believe her? Yeah, that sounds good, George. Give her $100 million.
But the subtle clues that she was deceiving us were there all along.
Oh, were they?
Here's 3 signs that you're dealing with a narcissistic liar.
Okay, so we're going to get a lesson in narcissistic liars. Go on.
Sign number 1, obsession with their image. For example, Elizabeth wanted to be the female Steve Jobs to appear more powerful and intelligent. So she wore the same outfits, made staged product reveals, and hired former Apple employees. Sign number 2, dismissal. Calling people haters allows narcissists like Elizabeth to effectively shut down any feedback. But not everyone is a hater because they question behavior. So watch out for people who always...
Excuse me, charisma on command. Nowadays, if you object to anything, especially if it happens to be a protected class of people, you obviously are a hater. Don't you know? Don't you know?
Always think that others are conspiring against them. Sign number 3, making ridiculous lies. Elizabeth faked a deeper baritone voice for years. These lies seem silly and
completely fucking fake. Her voice was fake. Hi, I'm Elizabeth Holmes. Imagine, spending your life, walking around. Yeah, I'm Elizabeth Holmes, and all you got to do is say they were crazy, and then we made it happen. Your whole life spending what are you doing? Why?
Consequential, but they're not. It's another attempt to deceive you. If you want to learn more ways to spot,
I mean, she's got such pretty crazy eyes. So it's such a
liar. Make sure you subscribe by hitting the red button below.
And yet, people invested hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of $1 million into her little company. Now, it was a good idea. I mean, it's obviously you go get blood. I mean, say you have cancer or some crazy thing. You're in there every week and you're getting gallons of blood sucked out of you. If you could do that all with a little nanotainer, I should get a patent on that. She already did. Whoops. Okay.
When you try to change things, people react to it. Whenever there's a quote unquote glass ceiling, there's an iron woman right behind it. Well, here at Theranos, we are saying goodbye to the big bad needle and saying hello to the nanotainer. Just a pinprick of the finger. I dropped out of Stanford because I am a genius. I've done something that is transformative. Our machine is made of Legos. If I am what I eat, I am green juice. My favorite place to vacation is dancing in my office. One word that would best describe me would be mission-oriented. First, they call you crazy. Then they maybe call you a freak. Then you scam everybody and you change the world.
She actually does a really good impression of Elizabeth Holmes here. This is Nicole Travolta. So her link is in the description. So let's go to Martin Decoder, because he does a pretty good breakdown of this. And it's just, how did people fall for this bullshit? How did they? I mean, the fake voice, the Steve Jobs outfit, the weird fucking hair, the eyes. The woman never blinks. How do you do that? And I'm sure she had some training. Okay, see, you need to keep your voice low, and you need to look someone directly in the eye when you're lying to them. It'll work. It did. As it turns out, it worked. Well, for a while, until the federal government caught up with her. You know what I'm saying? Hello, everyone. Lord Jeremy Hirsch. Yeah, that is pretty good, isn't she? Yeah, the Nicole Travolta. So the link's in the description. She's got a couple of other ones, too, that are kind of funny. MGTOW Forever is here. Durnin Iron Knuckles. And for MGTOW, Red Pill guys, you just knew there was going to be some simp wifing up this bitch. Of course. Now, how that happens, I don't know. Maybe she's that good, guys, that she can even scam a rich dude into wifing her up. How does this? Oh my God. All right. That is a good impression. Yeah. Prince Revolver. What exactly did Elizabeth Holmes do? Elizabeth Holmes came up with an idea to create a blood testing machine using just a few drops of your blood, like a finger prick, and she could do all these tests and all that stuff. Like I said, it's a great idea. Somebody's, getting their blood taken a lot. That's a pain in the ass, and all that. So it's a great idea. They never could get it to work. But they kept saying that it worked, and they kept, so she was convicted of fraud, basically. She's going to spend 11 years in jail. And her co-partner in crime, her ex-squeeze, her boy toy, is spending 13 years in jail for the same crime. Sonny something or other. But anyway, let's... how in God's name did these people believe this? I have no idea. All right, let's get into Martin Decoder's video, and the link is below.
What I want to spend my life doing is seeing a change in our world in which...
Now, another thing, what we're going to hear is a lot of platitudes, a lot of buzzwords, and really not much of substance. She's really, really actually pretty good at this. Even though she's got the fake voice, the fake eyeballs, the fake hair, the fake Steve Jobs crap. She's very good. And obviously, the company was at one point worth $9 billion somehow. And the wheels fell off in like 2016. It was a Wall Street Journal reporter, John Carreyrou, who blew the lid off of this thing. All right, go ahead.
People don't have to go through what they go through today when you say goodbye too soon.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing a change in our world. People don't have to go through what they go through today when you say goodbye too soon.
You get a pretty vague sort of, we want to change the world and make it better. I'd like to teach the world to sing. And look at everyone's favorite Canadian there. Hey, I think it's Justin Trudeau.
Politicians, celebrities, and CEOs invent and repeat buzzwords and slogans.
Oh, yeah, that sounds like a great idea.
That the people who look up to them then start using and presupposing in conversations.
Yes.
Online, offline. Many people don't care if the politicians, celebrities, and CEOs they look up to believe what they say.
They don't care if they're lying to them or not. Sometimes they want to be lied to. And apparently, some of the investors in Theranos wanted to be lied to by this pretty young girl, who, by the way, dropped out of college. Water is delicious. She dropped out of Stanford when she was 19. Started this company with some seed money from one of her big buddies. By the way, her parents, yes, are very, very rich. In case you were wondering, how does this happen? How does this woman come into connections? Yes.
say, or even if what they say is true, historically, scientifically, and logically. To them, truth is secondary.
Yeah.
What matters is how the buzzwords and platitudes make them feel. If the words make them feel good and hopeful, they buy the message. Elizabeth Holmes took advantage of this fact.
Yeah.
In light of Elizabeth's latest...
Elizabeth Holmes wants to reinvent herself as Liz. A normal mom. She's like a stay-at-home suburban mom now with normal clothes and normal voice. Honestly, I think it was the New York Times did a reinvention piece on this woman. Remember now, she's convicted of federal crime. She's going to jail for 11 years, right? And now they're so, oh, well, she's just Liz. There's nothing to see here. It was those evil men. Excuse me. What are you saying, hamster? Why do you always say everyone blames men? That's what her defense tried to do. Oh, you didn't hear that? Her boyfriend, Sonny something or other, she accused him of emotional and physical abuse and da 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 da. Oh, yeah.
Shameless attempts to fish for sympathy. It's important
trying to save her own ass, of course,
to be aware of the signs of deception.
She certainly wouldn't say anything to save his ass. Let's be honest.
Deception is an integrated part of psychopathic people like Elizabeth. They can't change, and they don't want to change either. Let's look at her interview with Fortune to observe her psychopathic way of imitating a successful CEO and motivational speaker.
And that's very good that Martin points that out. She's pretending, and she's very good at pretending. She convinced a lot of people with a lot of fucking money to invest in this thing. Just by her sheer personality, I guess.
I'm going to give you his resume.
Your mom has made it her job to find you any job.
Great. Yeah.
I need Indeed.
Indeed, you do.
Yes, you
When your
do.
resume is on Indeed,
Can't we
you
skip
get
this
matched
fucking
jobs
thing?
that fit requirements.
Jesus
Where do you get your
Christ.
persistence from?
Okay, all right, here we go.
I mean,
oh yeah,
we
we can
someone
skip this next one.
taco.
What? Because this is got a black eye in it. Is that it? You evil men.
She is the youngest person.
Now, just look at the way she is sitting here. Now, what this is unnatural, number one. Number two, it's a coaching thing, in my opinion. And I think Martin will get around to it. Someone coached her to say, move in, seem like you're having a conversation with the interviewer, and it's just awkward as fuck, as you can see. It just looks, yicky.
To ever get the Horatio Alger Award, it's a big deal. Why is it a big deal to you?
Mm-hmm. I appreciate that. It's a really big deal to me because it's an opportunity to connect with so many young people, especially in classrooms across the country, and especially with my background.
Well, she actually blinked. Holy shit. But watch her when she's speaking. Her eyes never blink. Almost never.
Little
there
girls
she goes again.
Who
she's killing me.
Hear a lot of people come in and talk to them, but maybe don't get to hear from, I consider myself young women who have really pursued science and engineering and business and have the opportunity to talk with them about what's possible and what we can do and the pursuit of excellence in science and engineering, especially. And that, yes, that's something that's cool and something that they can excel in, and share a little bit of my experience as a little girl growing up in this country.
Oh, God, here we go. Oh, I was just a little girl. I'm just growing up in the country with multimillionaire parents. Yeah, other than that, it was just a normal upbringing. Of course.
She says she's really pursued science, engineering, and business. However, leaving Stanford during her sophomore year and neglecting to specify what she means by the generic terms science and business suggest otherwise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, she dropped out of Stanford because she's such a fucking genius. She could not wait to go through the rest of her chemical engineering classes because she had this brilliant fucking idea. Hey! And it was all a scam.
What Elizabeth does instead is a far more effective deceptive tactic.
Yeah.
She appeals to people's emotions as if she sees and hears them. Right. With her advice about excelling, it's presupposed that she's excelled, and it's presupposed that she's a role model.
Yes, yes. Well, at the time she was, Martin, right? The first self-made billionaire female in the world. Self-made, right? Nobody helped her at all. No.
Thus, this is self-praise. She pretends to care about the audience by leaning forward with accommodating hand gestures, imitating a conversation, as if she was sitting in front of each one of the audience members.
Yep.
All sorts of tasks.
That was coaching. It's coaching. Absolutely, she was coached to do this. You got to seem more approachable. You have to sit there like you're having a real conversation. Obviously.
On that single drop of blood.
That's right.
Was there a major fork in the road where you could have gone one direction and you went the other?
I think there's a billion forks all the time, and you know, you have a vision, you have a mission. For me, it was finding what I'm just so incredibly passionate about in life, and when you find that thing, then it's a question of going down 1,000 different paths to get to your end point. No matter.
I mean, if you guys are in corporate America, you hear these buzzwords all the time. Right? Well, we have to re-leverage the leverage we leveraged last year with our levers, getting back in our swim lane and move forward with passion and just fucking drivel. It's all bullshit. It's all nice, pretty words. Oh, yeah, get the troops fired up. Oh, yes, we're going to leverage and we're going to do this and we're going to swim lane and we're going to yeah.
No matter how you have to go there. And so
you're streamlined. God.
The psychological reason why psychopaths find it easy to lie is because they have no conscience. They don't care who they lie to or what they lie about.
It doesn't matter, does it? No. The only thing that matters is what they get what they want. Doesn't matter if they lie, whatever the hell they have to do, or cheat, steal, or perform federal crimes, stuff like that.
As long as it benefits them. However, lying is stressful for the brain, and stress manifests itself physically in form of stammering, sweating, etc.
This is that. I think this is the guy that was convicted of killing his family. I think
this makes it possible to detect. So psychopaths have to find a way of lying without it causing too much visible stress.
Yes.
Thus, the linguistic reason why it's easy for them to lie is because they seemingly tell the truth. But it's only afterwards that we're able to see that this truth had different undertones that only the deceptive person knew about at the time.
So they convince themselves that what they're saying is true. So it's not really a lie then. Okay. All right.
Let me exemplify what I mean.
Let's go back.
Was there a major fork in the road where you could have gone one direction and you went the other?
I think there's a billion forks all the time, and
the far too trusting interviewer thinks that Elizabeth is only talking about her difficult road to success. However, when Elizabeth says there's a billion forks all the time, she's not merely about this road to success. She's talking about what her grand-scale deception has caused her to feel.
Interesting point. Yeah. Yeah. You guys familiar with the story at all? I mean, I find it fascinating that people fell for this bullshit. Just unbelievable. Yeah. Lord Messiah disciples here. Yes. Hey, what's up? All right, let's get back to it. Oh, not that one. This one. Go ahead.
Because, of course, pretending to be someone you're not is exhausting. So, as we see then, she grants herself a linguistic space where she can satisfy the interviewer by answering her suggestive questions, but also tell her own thoughts, her own truth, so to speak. And it offers her a less stressful way of deceiving without telling direct lies. We see it again here.
1,000 different paths to get to your end point. No matter how you have to go to get there. And so
no matter how you have to go to get there.
How you have to go to get there, she says. Once again, the interviewer and the audience think that she's just talking about her career. But in reality, she's telling the truth about how she doesn't care if she has to deceive people in the process of getting what she wants. Thus, Elizabeth relishes in the knowledge she has, but that she knows other people don't have. And the only reason we're able to see that is because she was caught.
Yep. Fake it till you make it. Right?
There are many frauds out there that haven't been caught.
As you're saying this, it is enforcing in my mind that you did not start with an idea like, oh, we can make a wearable patch that will do this, or we can draw blood much more efficiently. You actually started with a very ambitious mission, which is to change the way diagnosis and therapy takes place.
The interviewer is saying it without saying it, and most importantly, without realizing it, that Elizabeth's ambitions sound too good to be true.
Yep, certainly. And it turns out it was too good to be true.
She even says that Elizabeth's big plan is enforced in her mind. Still, she's not able to realize that she's being lied to. People like big ideas, sensations, and success stories. So much so that they're willing to abandon critical thinking.
Or they're thinking with their dick.
People who make the wildest claims and have the most charisma are given the biggest platforms, no matter how much they lie about who they are. This is true for almost all areas where money-hungry frauds have an easy time telling people what they want to hear in the most emotional way possible, even when they claim to be highly rational. Money is the one thing that people in general respect.
Money.
When a person makes a lot of money, they are much more likely to be given a platform, and the interviewer is in awe of Elizabeth's success.
Yes, she is. She's baffled by her bullshit.
We're gonna have the car that you want. There's enough vehicles out there that
you get a new Chevrolet Malibu 4-door sedan, 22.7. All right, there you go. Buy one.
Be rare. You can't find.
So tell me if I have these numbers right. Elizabeth has raised more than $400 million. The company is valued at the company that she started at 19 is valued at $9 billion.
When she was 19, see, she started when she's, oh my God, she's a goddess. She's just so brilliant. Oh my God.
You own over 50% of it, right?
And she has patents too. She patented the nanotainer. Ooh, proves you can patent just about anything, doesn't it? And then you can, actually.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you. Now look at the weird head shaking there, though. You see that? It's just so weird. It's almost like she's a robot, right? She's not really a human. She's been programmed to do certain things, really not knowing what it means. You just do that during this thing. So bizarre, really. Crazy stuff.
When we did the story in June, you had 500 employees. Yeah. What do you have now?
We're over 700.
The interviewer has replaced common sense with admiration of money and status.
And, of course, she's a woman, right? Well, it's nothing that Steve Jobs did that. He's a man. He's got white privilege. But, oh, this poor little girl, she was so passionate about her dream. She just dropped out of college. Oh, my God.
Which makes it easier for someone like Elizabeth to perform her generic, unoriginal narratives.
I mean, she was there for a semester and a half, or a year and a half. A few semesters. You don't even get into your core classes until the second year, maybe second and a half year. Yeah. So she must be a genius then, right?
While tapping into people's emotions. Let's watch.
You actually started with a very ambitious mission, which is to change the way diagnosis and therapy takes place.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And I think people talk a lot about starting companies, and I'll talk with people sometimes and they'll say, oh, I want to start a business. And my question is always, why? Because there's got to be a mission. There's got to be a reason that you're doing it.
Yeah. There's got to be a reason you start a business. Oh, that's top shelf there. Thank you for that advice.
No matter how hard it is, you want to keep doing it over and over and over again because you love it. And for me, what I want to spend my life doing is seeing a change in our world.
Well, your world certainly changed. You're going to jail for 11 years.
In which people don't have to go through what they go through today when you say goodbye too soon. And
she's talking about people dying, apparently, I guess.
So
I don't know.
Not only is she imitating male CEOs with her posture and voice, but she's also playing the part of the much older person, allegedly asking why to people who want to start up their own companies.
No, well, you have to know why you want to start up your own business. Okay, good, yeah.
Even though her own reason, making a change in the world, is about as deep and heartfelt as a fortune cookie. This is how Elizabeth likes to start her answers, giving a general overview before getting to how she feels and thinks.
Now, Martin, he goes a little deeper into the psychology of it, so we'll go ahead and listen. But I mean, who would believe this? Is my biggest question. I mean, you listen to her voice, you look at the creepy eyeballs. It's like there's something weird here. How does this make any sense? It doesn't. It didn't. But it did. Enough rich people thought she had something going on where they invested hundreds of millions of dollars into this company. It's like, what the?
Specifically, this gives her more time to think about her answer, finding the best possible response in a given situation.
Yes.
She did the same in another interview with Fortune. In that interview, it had a much more obvious, evasive function.
I should go find this interview because this man here, he didn't fuck around. He was going right after her. Or he backed off eventually, but he did not. He was asking her some really interesting questions, got her sweating.
In retrospect, when you look at where you are today, one test with the prick of blood, wasn't that going too far?
Now listen to the answer.
So we have developed hundreds of tests over the course of the last 12 years that can run a tiny sample using proprietary Theranos technology.
That didn't actually exist. Mm-hmm.
And part of when I talk about communication,
the story is so fascinating to me. I mean, they were even using other people's equipment, existing machines. You know, they would take a sample and say, oh, go over here. We got to show you the lab. And then they would take the blood sample, run it through another machine to get the result. It's just, oh my God, it's crazy.
What we need to do is we need to get that data out there. And I've talked publicly over the course of the last couple of weeks.
Okay, let me just back this up. Does she actually say anything?
Theranos technology. And part of when I talk about communicating, what we need to do is we need to get that data out there. And I've talked publicly over the course of the last couple of weeks that we've made a decision now to take the data that we've generated for our FDA submissions and put it into the public domain. And
actually, this whole fucking interview, that should be the one we're looking at. But if you can look this one up, it's Fortune, Elizabeth Holmes interview. Holy shit. It's fucking frightening stuff.
Well, yeah, but since you're focused on the one test, let's talk about why we're doing that.
Because that's all we can do. Mm-hmm.
Says,
let's talk about why we're doing that.
If she really wanted to talk about this one test, she could have done it turn initially.
Yep.
Instead, she doesn't mention the test until much later. This shows us that the preceding utterances are attempts to postpone the talk about the one test. There's also a hint of criticism of the interviewer.
Since you're focused on the one test.
She doesn't want him to focus on the one test because she doesn't want it to be the focus. Therefore, her final words,
so let's talk about why we're doing that,
fall flat because all her preceding utterances have revealed that she doesn't want to talk about it.
Now, what's interesting about this interview is that if you've ever worked with the government, you know, you've worked with a regulatory agency, they basically have you by the balls. You got to do what they want, or you're not going to get certified, or you're not going to get approved by the FDA or FCC or whatever. And in this interview, she keeps saying, well, we allow the FDA to come into our lab. You don't allow them. They fucking come in. So she's reframing it as if they were doing the FDA a favor. No. They say, we're coming to your lab, we're going to inspect, and you must let them in. There's no other option. Even if you don't want them there, you can't say, well, I'm sorry, we're too busy. Sorry, we're coming anyway. So it's just, oh my God.
In this interview, she provides an emotional reason for wanting to change the world.
Mm-hmm. People don't have to go through what they go through today when you say goodbye too soon.
And emotions sell.
And so then it's a question of operationalizing it and tuning it and changing.
Operationalizing it. Oh my God. Another fucking buzzword.
And so then it's a question of operationalizing it and tuning it and changing it and being really good at change so that you can get to that end game, because nothing ever works out the way you think it's going to. You just have to leverage those moments and turn them into what you want.
The Holy Grail. The Holy Grail of buzzwords. We got to leverage that.
You can get to that end game because nothing ever works out the way you think it's going to. You just have to leverage those moments and turn them into what you want them to be. Right?
Being really good at change, she says. Again, Elizabeth lies by using the knowledge she has, but that no one in the audience has.
Yes.
They think she's merely talking about her accomplishments, but in reality, this is an admission of how she deceives people by constantly changing to sound like a man, like a humanitarian,
right.
and like a much older person. This chameleon-like trait is also psychopathic. With the words.
Do you think, Martin? Do you think she's a psychopath? Yeah, I'd say that's probably a pretty good call on Martin's part. Shrapnel says word salad. Yep, fake it till you make it, baby. You got to leverage the opportunities to make the changes that we need to get to the end goal and leverage that too. Winging it, freestyle, impulsive. Yes, hola. Moki Alex, hello. Spider Spectre. Why go for an interview? Go to an interview for smart people, but everything she says sounds dumbed down for a child. Well, of course, because she's so much better than we are. Don't you know that, Spider? She can't talk in the language, the vernacular of her highfalutin science and engineering. She's got to dumb it down for us stupid masses, the plebeians out here. She can't talk like a human being, or she can't talk with her own words and shit. She's got to make, you know what I mean. Go on, Martin. Let's wrap it up.
Leverage those moments and turn them into what you want them to be. Right?
She, unbeknownst to the audience, lets them know about her self-serving way of looking at the world, turning moments into how she wants them to be.
Yes.
When we combine this statement with the previous statement about achieving success, no matter how you have to go to get there, we get an idea of Elizabeth's ruthless personality traits.
Not only how she wants them to be, but how she invents them to be and just makes shit up. It's amazing.
The audience questions reveal how easy it's been for Elizabeth to deceive the audience.
We have a question up here. The mic is coming.
Okay, mic's coming. All right, good.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Navrina Singh from Qualcomm. You're clearly very passionate about changing the world through your new company.
Did you know that AAA members get exclusive discounts
Clearly you're
and
passionate.
benefits
Yeah.
when they rent a car with Hertz?
Also full of shit. Yep.
But I was wondering, what keeps Elizabeth up at night if you sleep, and how do you go about tackling that?
If you sleep.
I don't sleep very much.
How many hours do you get a night on average?
I sleep about 4 hours. Yeah.
Wow. Look at the dedication she has to her company.
How many hours do you get a night on average?
I sleep about 4 hours. Yeah.
She wears the smile like a mask, even when maintaining eye contact with the interviewer to see if she buys it. The next passage is a prime example of how people want to believe statements that sound good, no matter how unoriginal, contrived, and superficial they are. Feelings prevent people's critical thinking, which is what psychopaths thrive on.
You can see her hair, too. She's got the ginger gene. Just in case you didn't notice, her hair is really thick. That's a sign of the ginger gene.
You know, I feel like the luckiest person in the world every day because of what I get to do.
Because I'm not in jail yet.
And right now, building this company is about building people and really investing in building the people from within our company. So I spend as much.
Sounds like my last full all staff meeting. Our interest is building people and leveraging the people to make the people better.
Of my time as humanly possible, focusing on getting and building the right people, because that's how we realize this mission and how we realize
building the right people.
This dream. So
that's an interesting way to phrase it. Isn't it?
I don't think I could be possibly kept up more than I already am on that one.
When people say contrived things about building businesses by building people, their facial expressions are supposed to match these emotional words.
But psychopaths can't do that.
Instead, we see Elizabeth saying this as if she's trying to memorize a script, completely unemotional. That's another thing to look for in influential people. Do their pathos-appealing words match their facial expressions? Psychopathic people are able to say emotional, contrived statements without the expected emotions to go with them.
Right. Yeah.
I hope that she's somewhere safe right now.
This is the I can't remember this guy's name, but he allegedly was convicted of killing his wife and kids. Just really, I think that was in Colorado, if not mistaken. Just another one.
And with the kids.
Except this one's a psychopathic killer. You know, Holmes has never been accused of anything like that, but this guy is.
Last night, I had every light in the house on. I was hoping that I would just ran over by the kids running in the door and just like barrel rushing me. But
barrel rushing me. I've never heard of that term. It's the first time. Was that a faux poo? Was that a poo faux poo? Barrel rushing? Is that a thing? Yeah, Chris Watts. Thank you, Mr. Hemi, 4-Speed. Yeah, Chris Watts. Yeah, he allegedly, I think he was convicted of killing his wife and his kids and putting them in like an oil tank or something. He offed them and then dumped them in an oil. It's just fucking weird stuff. Really weird stuff. And of course, immediately, barrel rush, Donkey Kong. Yes. Yeah, Donkey Kong. Avoid the barrels. Okay, let's get back.
It didn't happen. And it was just a traumatic night.
And
trying to be here.
He's lying with a straight face. His eyes aren't blinking. He's not. Just fucking. This guy is crazy, to say the least.
When she speaks hyperbolically and says that she spends as much time as humanly possible on building the company, she's partly right. She does spend much time, not on building the company, but on pretending that she actually has a company that's worth being called a company. One of the obvious lies is through self-repairs.
I had the privilege of getting what I needed. I'm an engineer. I was in the engineering school there.
Mm-hmm. No, see, you got the. He's going to explain it here in a minute. You got what she did there? She said, well, I'm an engineer. Well, I was in the engineering school. She's not an engineer. She's not a college graduate. Go ahead.
To be able to do this, and I hit that moment where I was very clear that this is what I wanted to do with my life. So that was it. Right?
I mean, just oh god.
I'm an engineer. I was in the engineering school there.
Nope. You only took your 101 classes, English and history. We know. We've been to college, Elizabeth. You didn't take any hard classes when you might have taken Intro to Chemistry 101 or something.
First, she says she's an engineer, but then she makes a restart, a self-repair, saying she was in engineering school, which is different from having the degree. Thus, she herself points to the engineer thing to be a sensitive issue, as a way of answering indicates internal stress. This stress is further underlined by her sudden inclusion of the expression, you know, which exposes a sudden self-awareness. At this point, though, the interviewer isn't listening. She's much too carried away by all the buzzwords and superficial statements, which tells us a lot about her priorities.
Actually worked. I did work at a company where we had a buzzword bingo chart you could print off before meetings with leadership, whatever. We'd all print these off, and we'd sit in the meeting, and we'd have our little pencils, and we mark it off, and then when we got a bingo, hold it up in the air. It was engineer geek stuff, We're just we're not completely humorless.
Two former senators and retired military officers of a very high level. It's a fascinating board.
George Shultz, former defense secretary. Mad Dog Mattis was on there. Henry Kissinger was on there on her board of directors. Interestingly, there were no medical professionals on the board of directors. Isn't that weird? Wouldn't you think you'd want to have somebody who knew what? I wonder if they had those people. Maybe they knew it was all bullshit. So they got people who weren't that.
You still don't have any women on the board, right?
Oh, no.
Well, okay. All right. Okay.
I count
beyond you. Is that
for her? Yeah.
Is that on your? Okay, that's on your list.
Sure, yeah. Of course it is.
Psychopathic people thrive on softball interviews, and in a bigger perspective, looking at the answers Elizabeth is allowed to get away with.
I mean, at least in this, she's sitting like a normal human being, unlike that crouched over shit that she was doing before.
The praise she gets for saying the right things and having money. I think this casts doubt on many people who win awards and prizes and are called good people. If people were happy to applaud an obvious fraud like Elizabeth, who else are they willing to applaud? Like and subscribe for more videos. See you next time.
All right. Thank you, Martin. All right. We might do another Holmes here. I think it's interesting. We'll try it. Yeah. Weird. Yeah. She's, shrapnel. That's the thing. She was pretending to be Steve Jobs with a vagina, I suppose. But yeah, you could probably talk to her. It's like, this really isn't a woman. What is this? This is weird. There's something going on here that isn't right. You know what I'm saying? Binga says the chick that's interviewing isn't trying to make it weird. I feel like, who the fuck would go through this without saying, what the fuck is wrong with this? Well, yeah, I suppose it's her job. Remember now, this was prior to all the fraud and all the other shit coming out. And so nobody knew any better. We're looking at it, obviously, with 2020 vision. I remember reading about Elizabeth Holmes. She was the big deal. She was the first billionaire woman in the world and all that fat fucking shit, 10 years ago or whatever. And it's like, okay, here we go. I wonder what's going to happen here. And eventually we found out what happened. None of what she said was true. Zero of it. Obviously. Yeah, her real voice has she sounds like a normal female. With a slightly deeper voice maybe than normal, but that's not her voice. It's completely fake. And there's stuff on the internet you can look up to find these things if you're really interested. There's hours of her testifying before the Securities Commission or something. Elizabeth Holmes. Let's see if we can find the interview here quick. Oh, look, we're live. There it is. Oh, no. Oh, all right. Well, let's see. Amanda Seyfried's impression of Elizabeth Holmes is spot on. Okay. Now, I'm probably not going to be able to find the interview, but there is another woman, by the way, that got caught up in some shenanigans. You want to see that one? Let's see. Charlie fraud. Sure, it'll be here. It's not that hard to find. Ah, there it is. We'll go with Dr. Todd Grande on this one. Dr. Grande. All right. Now, this chick, this is a different situation. Charlie Javis is the woman's name. So let's go through it.
We started Mattress Direct. Our mission was to make it easy
Direct,
for the people of St. Louis to get the best deal on the right
Yes, mattresses. Yeah.
Hello, this is Dr. Grande.
All right.
Today's question is, can you analyze the case of Charlie Javis? Just a reminder, I'm not diagnosing by this video, only speculating about what could be happening in a situation like this.
Right.
If you enjoy this video, please like it, subscribe to my channel, and consider supporting me on Patreon. I will put the link to Patreon in the description for this video.
Okay.
First, I'll look at the background of this case.
Okay.
Move to the timeline of the alleged crime, then offer my analysis.
So the background is in some ways, very similar to Elizabeth Holmes. This woman here, Charlie something, comes from a really rich family, right? Went to the top schools, got the best grades, and got all this stuff, and had an idea to put together a company or two, right? She invented a couple of companies. Well, the problem was, we'll hear about it here shortly.
Charlie Javis was born in the early 1990s and raised in Westchester County, New York.
Now, if you know anything about New York, Westchester County is where all the rich people hang out. It's a big dealio.
Her father worked in a hedge fund, and her mother was a life coach. While Charlie attended a private high school, she took a trip to Thailand to volunteer.
So she went to Thailand in high school. All right, well, that's cool. Go see the world, volunteer, help people out. Hamster has been shopping for mattresses. No, that's the weirdest thing, is that sometimes it follows what you look up and sometimes it don't, right? I mean, sometimes, and here's the weird thing, and this is why your cell phone is kind of scary. Sometimes I'll be talking to somebody about something, for example, and suddenly I'll start getting ads for it. It's, yeah. YouTube Trailer Park is here. Hello, LOL Life Coach. Yeah. Oh, you caught that, did you? Yeah, I wasn't going to say anything. Grande has received criticism, so be careful discussing what he says. Oh, okay. I don't know what the criticism is, but this one's pretty straightforward. There's little controversy here.
She attended the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania.
Now, it's amazing that Wharton School of Business at the University of Pennsylvania, very prestigious business school, except if your name is Donald Trump. You remember that? He also went to Wharton, but he's a loser and shit like that.
She claimed that based on her experiences in Thailand, she created a company that promoted microfinance and educated students about how to reduce poverty.
Okay, good. I think that's laudable. Yeah, help people get out of poverty. Yeah, good.
The company was supposed to eliminate poverty. The only problem is the company really didn't do much of anything.
Yeah, that's a rather lofty goal to eliminate poverty. I mean, it's something we should be thinking about, but kind of hard to do that on your own.
In 2011, she appeared on Fast Company's list of the 100 most creative people in business.
Of course she did, because that's the way this works. Because she's a she.
I think Fast Company should get an award for creativity for selecting Charlie to be on the list. Charlie graduated with a bachelor's degree in 2013.
All right, she's got her BS degree.
This same year, she incorporated a for-profit company in Delaware called TAPD Incorporated. In 2017, the company started operating under the name Frank.
Now, I know for some of you guys, you're like, this is boring shit. It seems kind of boring, but it does get quite exciting toward the end. It's pretty good. Aaron Holmes, Elizabeth Holmes is disgrace to my name. Yeah. Freudian slip, Billy the Goat. Hope everything's all right there in England.
Charlie selected this name because it means honest. As the founder and CEO of Frank, Charlie had complete control of the company, which operated mostly out of New York City.
Of course she had complete control. That's what control freaks do, isn't it?
The company was primarily funded through money raised in private placements of its common and preferred stock.
Okay, so again, people invested in her idea. Her idea is not such a bad one, but is it a good one? That's the next question. Yeah, go on.
Over the next few years, Frank became an online resource for people who were interested in going to college.
Okay.
The main offering of the company was an automated tool that supposedly allowed a user to quickly complete a FAFSA application. FAFSA stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid. The term is actually trademarked by the government.
Yeah.
They weren't too happy that Charlie was using the acronym and took action against her.
Now, here's one of the things that is interesting. Excuse me. When I went to apply for the FAFSA, you had to fill out paperwork, right? I'm sure today it's all online, so I'm not sure what the benefit of her would. You see what I mean? It's internet, all that.
Despite this, Charlie's company, Frank, continued to operate. In addition to using the government's trademark, there were other signs that Charlie was not competent or responsible.
Uh-oh. What are you saying, Dr. Todd?
For example, she wrote an opinion piece for the New York Times titled The 8 Most Confusing Things About FAFSA. It required an 8-sentence correction because it had so many mistakes.
There's nothing confusing about FAFSA. You fill it out. It's nothing there. That's that difficult.
Charlie was frequently featured in the media and received many good reviews, which appeared to contradict her actual performance.
Yeah, really? No, you mean she's the rising star and she's a woman? Oh my God! Give her praise.
One article claimed that her startup was helping students get thousands off their tuition.
Wow!
She made it on the 2019 Forbes 30 Under 30 finance list, as well as the Crain's New York Business 40 Under 40 list.
Wow! I mean, she's queen shit of the turds here, just for helping kids fill out their FAFSA form. Wow.
The article said that Charlie had done her homework. It sounds like before they made that statement, they should have done their homework.
Yeah.
As Charlie was attracting all this positive attention, other people were growing concerned with her behavior. For example, the Federal Trade Commission sent her a warning letter about offering potentially misleading information to students.
So she got the attention of the government and the Federal Trade Commission. Excuse me. Here's a letter, by the way. We think you might be doing some bad shit. Knock it off.
By 2021, Frank had expanded into additional areas.
Okay.
It offered information about scholarships, resources for filing financial aid appeals, and was a marketplace for online courses offered by colleges.
Ooh.
Students could pay a fee to Frank and be signed up for these classes.
Okay.
Some of the colleges were unaware that they were being listed on Frank's website.
Ooh.
Frank did not actually have any arrangement with them.
So let me get this straight. You could pay her, and she would get you hooked up with a online course, college course. Okay. All right.
Charlie started looking at a company to buy Frank. She framed the company as a trusted financial coach for students, which could help them navigate finances from A to Z. Now moving to the timeline of the crime. Here's what happened according to federal prosecutors. A board member for Frank approached J.P. Morgan Chase Bank to see if they were interested in acquiring the company.
So J.P. Morgan Chase, big player, right? Yeah, obviously.
J.P. Morgan was interested in growing its market share of student customers and thought Frank might be a good acquisition.
Okay.
Charlie had approved pitch decks describing Frank's financials, anticipated growth, products, and market reach.
In other words, a big PowerPoint full of bullshit. Yes. Yes, I know. I put those together all the time.
In July 2021, Frank used a pitch deck containing slides stating it had 4.25 million students and growing.
Okay, 4.25 million students. The presupposition here, the going and assertion of that information would be we have their names, their addresses, their phones, their social security, all that, right? They have all the information on these people, right?
This claim appeared on 6 slides in total. Charlie met with J.P. Morgan employees and answered several of their questions. J.P. Morgan was particularly interested in getting access to Frank's user data.
Now, as Grande will say a little later in the video, J.P. Morgan's a pretty big freaking company, right? They're a big player in New York and around the world and everything. You mean to tell me they couldn't go buy lists of people under 25 from some data collection site or something? Go to Apple maybe or somewhere. They could buy that information cheaper than, okay.
They wanted to market other products to the student population.
Now, that's interesting. I assume credit cards, checking accounts. Certainly somebody who's just in college or just out probably doesn't have a lot of cash to invest, but who knows?
J.P. Morgan submitted a non-binding indication of interest to acquire Frank's outstanding stock for $175 million.
Oh, baby. Oh, $175 million. Holy shit. You know what? We ought to start a company. We just that's a bit of cash, isn't it? All right. So she's got an offer on the table for $175 million for a list of names, basically. Interesting.
As part of due diligence, J.P. Morgan asked Charlie to provide a list of customer accounts, including the identifying information.
Yeah.
She kept dodging the request for specific information.
Really? No shit.
Claiming that she was worried about privacy.
More Chevy commercials. Great. Did they say a 2.7 liter turbo? 430 pounds of feet. Whoa. All righty then.
On August 1, 2021, J.P. Morgan sent an email that asked, quote, how many customer accounts have 100% of the below data, unquote. The email then listed a variety of variables like first name, last name, date of birth, phone number, and so on.
Yep.
Both sides of the negotiation realized that the data were critical to the deal moving forward.
That's all the deal was about, really. Yeah.
To address the privacy concerns, the parties agreed to using a third-party validator.
Okay.
This validator would examine Frank's data and produce a written report without disclosing any of the actual data to J.P. Morgan.
See, now I wouldn't buy that. You know, if I'm going to give you $175 million, I want the fucking data. You know what I'm saying? But I think what they're doing is saying, okay, you say you have this data. We want to verify you have the data. Of course, they didn't.
Charlie ran into a bit of a problem here. Frank had over 4 million visitors to its website, but only less than 300,000 users. JP Morgan was interested in the users. They wanted complete sets of information on each student. Charlie led them to believe that Frank had an extensive set of information for over 4 million students. To overcome this challenge, Charlie told Frank's engineering director to fabricate data for the missing users by taking data from the existing users.
Okay. Please listen to that again carefully.
To overcome this challenge, Charlie told Frank's engineering director to fabricate data for the missing users by taking data from the existing users.
Fabricate data. Yeah.
Essentially making it seem as though the over 4 million visitors were actually users.
Okay.
The engineering director did not feel too comfortable with Charlie's request and asked if it was legal to create the data. Charlie reassured him that no one would end up in an orange jumpsuit. Ultimately, the engineering director refused to comply with Charlie's request.
Well, somebody has a little bit of cojones there. That's good. Obviously, the person knew it was illegal to do that.
Instead, he sent her the actual user data. Charlie was not pleased with this and decided to contact a university professor who she had met when she was in college. She asked this professor to create the data, and he did, although he warned her it would look fishy if someone were to audit the data.
Yes. We're fabricating a bunch of data. It's going to look fishy if somebody actually looks at it. Okay, got it.
The fabricated data were sent to the validator, over 4.265 million entries.
Wow.
The validator analyzed the data and reported that 100% of the entries contained first name, last name, email address, and phone fields.
Okay.
This report was sent to JP Morgan. Charlie agreed to pay the professor $18,000, which was $4,700 more than he requested.
A professor she met while in college. Yeah, I'm sure that. Yeah.
JP Morgan and Frank entered into a definitive merger agreement on August 8, 2021. In addition to the $175 million for the outstanding common and preferred stock, Charlie was offered a job with JP Morgan as a managing director. She was entitled to a $20 million retention bonus.
I mean, are you guys hearing this shit? $175 million for a bunch of names, and she gets $20 million and a position on a high-flying position at this bank. What kind of fucking deal is that? That sounds like we got to start our companies, boys.
Her job was to expand the user base to over 10 million households over the next 3 years.
Right.
Charlie was now in another difficult position.
Oh, yeah?
It was almost time for JP Morgan to see the data.
Oops.
She knew they would detect the fabrication right away. Charlie scrambled to buy data that came from real students, even if those students had never used Frank. Charlie was able to find a data provider that had a list of 4.5 million students, but there were no phone numbers, and not all the email addresses were in the list. She paid $105,000 for the list, then contacted the professor. She asked him if they could augment the data from public records. Another data provider which aggregated public records was contacted. They were able to match about 1.9 million email addresses.
Okay, so she, excuse me, she paid somebody $100,000 to come up with 4 million names. And JP Morgan is going to pay $175 million. Do we see the disconnect here, boys? You know, you could pay $100,000 for the names, pay the same people another $100,000 to go match the names up with public data, do some data mining on the internet, et cetera, and so on. A couple $100,000, $250,000, you got your thing. $175 million. So one wonders if the board and the people who were talking to this were charmed by her personality and her, oh my God.
Charlie paid $75,000 to this data provider.
Yeah, so $185,000 to basically get the information, sort of, that JP Morgan paid $175 million for
that data.
What?
In choosing your wealth management
What the
partner,
fuck?
you are likely realizing it's one of the most important decisions you will ever.
I mean, aside from the accusation that she was being fraudulent and everything, what does that say about the people in charge at JP Morgan? What does that really? I think you know what I think it's.
Number 14, 2021, the acquisition closed and Charlie became an employee of JP Morgan.
$20 million bonus.
In January of 2022, JP Morgan requested a list of Frank's users so they could market financial products to them. In July of that same year, the marketing team ran a test email with 400,000 names and had terrible results.
Ooh.
Only 28% of the emails were confirmed as delivered, and only 1.1% were opened by the recipient.
That's pretty bad. That'd be 4,000 people out of 400. Well, no, it'd be less. Wait a minute. 28%, and then 1% of that. That's like 10 people for Kai.
These numbers were well below what was expected.
I would say $175 million for 10 people to open our email. Ooh.
For example, 99% of the emails should have been delivered.
I would think.
The company launched an internal investigation and discovered the emails that Charlie had written to the professor, like the ones where she arranged for the professor to fabricate data.
Now, get this. Now, is this psychopathy? Is this just, I'm a woman, nothing can touch me because I'm strong and powerful. You go, girl, fishes and bicycles. Listen to this. Listen to this.
For some reason, Charlie had not used a secret email address for her communication with the professor. JP Morgan was not too happy about being defrauded.
So in other words, her freely available email address is what she used to set up the fraud. Allegedly.
They filed a lawsuit against Charlie, and she countersued.
Yeah.
On April 3, 2023, Charlie was charged with wire fraud, securities fraud, bank fraud, and conspiracy.
That's pretty hefty. That's a little bit of time to spend in the federal prison.
She pleaded not guilty. At the time making this video, Charlie maintains the presumption of innocence.
Of course, she hasn't been proven guilty yet, but sounds like some shenanigans going on. Shenanigans.
Now moving to my analysis.
Okay.
Here are my thoughts in a few areas that stood out to me in this case.
Okay.
Item number 1. I find it curious that anyone ever believed that Charlie was creative when all her ideas appeared to come from her personal experiences.
I see.
The idea for the company she supposedly founded to provide microloans in underprivileged countries was based on her traveling to Thailand.
Well, I mean, that's not a new thing either, really. That idea has been around a long time, actually. And it's helping people. I mean, it's a good thing. But it's not a new idea. It's been around a while.
Her idea about federal student loans was based on her time in college. To be fair, the name of her company was not based on something she had experienced personally.
Oh, God. Grande is just, I love this guy. Just boom, zingers everywhere. I love
Again,
it.
she selected Frank because it meant honest.
Yeah.
Item number 2. When Charlie was in college, she competed for a scholarship that awarded $100,000 for college students to drop out of college and pursue business.
Okay. Sorry for the throat. Let's listen to that again. What kind of fucking scholarship would this be?
When Charlie was in college, she competed for a scholarship that awarded $100,000 for college students to drop out of college and pursue business.
What? Well, the guy from Facebook did it. Bill Gates did it. Yeah, okay.
This doesn't seem like a very good idea,
No.
paying people not to get an education, but that's how the program was set up.
I guess. Yeah.
Charlie later claimed that she was offered a scholarship and turned it down.
I see.
But one of the people who worked for the company that controlled the scholarship said there was no offer.
Wait a minute. You mean another lie? No. Impossible.
There were a few red flags about Charlie's pursuit of the scholarship. For example, she allegedly cheated in a scavenger hunt contest that was part of a competition for the scholarship. Judges didn't see a single bit of humility. She gave them a hard time when asking them questions. She liked to drop names, and she seemed a little too
Name
eager.
dropper, yep.
Interestingly, a former college classmate also mentioned how Charlie would drop names. The classmate said that Charlie was nice, but tried to present a bigger image.
Well, yeah, I mean, kids will do that. I mean, that's not that unusual.
We didn't expect to see you.
Well, I heard you were looking for a Robert Downey Jr. type.
It's actually a funny commercial. Maybe
that.
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
Well, let's see how it goes.
Yeah. That's funny.
Item number 3. Not that it justifies any of Charlie's alleged bad behavior, but JP Morgan did not appear to be making rational decisions.
You think? Or were the old evil men running that place charmed by the fact that she had tits and a pussy? Just wondering.
They were willing to pay about $40 for each user record.
Yep.
How much money were they expecting to make on average from a user?
Not only that, but the woman herself spent about $200,000 and basically got the same answer. So it just, kind of makes me wonder. Maybe they just weren't thinking with
It's
their
hard
head.
to imagine they would have recovered that investment.
Right.
As far as due diligence, it does not appear as though JP Morgan had any idea how to make accurate calculations. For example, each year about 2 million students start college for the first time.
Right.
Frank was claiming to have collected data on over 4 million users in just 4 years.
Yes.
This means that over half of the students starting college each year were giving their information to Frank. How could the company have captured over half the market share?
It's an interesting way to look at it. Yeah. Yeah.
Frank claimed that they helped students in over 6,000 schools.
Okay.
Only 5,916 schools can utilize federal financial aid.
Yeah.
Even if one would argue that Charlie was rounding up.
Yeah.
How did Frank do business with at least one student from every one of the schools? The numbers that Frank supplied were not realistic, yet to JP Morgan, they sounded great. Item number 4. During the early stages of Frank, Charlie was at a meeting about launching the company. According to someone who was there, Charlie wanted to promote the company by saying that thousands of people had already signed up.
Okay.
This, of course, was not true.
No, well, really? Never would have guessed.
Frustrated by those who wanted to tell the truth, Charlie said, quote, "These old people don't understand. This is how it works. You fake it until you make it," unquote. Item number 5.
Yeah.
Charlie Javis appeared to be self-centered.
I mean, she's not wrong. These people obviously don't know how it works in the internet age where you can just buy lists of people.
Dishonest, arrogant, and grandiose. She believed that she was special, and she had a sense of entitlement.
No.
It's ironic that she founded a company to bypass clumsy regulations because this seemed to be a theme in her life. She wanted a shortcut to success.
Yes.
Charlie is a good example of someone who had a toxic level of self-confidence. Like many people with narcissistic characteristics, Charlie put her purported greatness before any meaningful achievement.
Yes.
In her mind, she did not need to achieve anything to be great. She was great.
She
to
was
start
just
with.
great. Yeah, just to start
The
with.
demand by society for great people to achieve something was nothing more than an inconvenience that could be eradicated through deception.
Right.
Now, moving to my final thoughts. Charlie Javis was able to ride this popular ideology among investors that experience doesn't matter. The world is simply missing good ideas, as opposed to rational thought and hard work.
Probably the more important thing is they're missing women entrepreneurs, right? Women.
There is an emphasis on youth, like the 40 under 40 lists.
Females, really.
I guess there is good news here. If this trend continues, there won't be as many fake business leaders because the lists will get shorter as a function of the mathematics. Soon there will be an up-and-coming preschooler entrepreneur list, the 4 under 4.
Oh, God, he's funny. I like his sort of subdued just jabs. It's beautiful. Shinobi Wan Kenobi, the Duck Master. Hello. Good to see you. Vidloss is here. Jeremy Hirsch is here. Coltimus Maximus. And Durnan Iron Knuckles. All right, let's do one more. Just for the hell of it, because we're here, and I have some more beer left. So hang on one second. I wasn't planning on going so long. But you guys just look special to me. Sort of. Let's see. Questions for 4. Okay, let me see if I find it here. There we go. There we go. Now, somebody was just mentioning this guy the other day, the amazing atheist. At one time in the past, he was, aside from liking bananas a lot, he was funny. And I don't know what he's doing today, but I mean, I like him. I like his presentation. He's just that kind of asshole. You know what I mean? He's just that kind of asshole. Now, this is from a few years ago. And it was BuzzFeed or Vice or some shit put out 36 questions for obviously evil white men because, you know, it's the way that works. And Mr. Atheist has a bit of a commentary on this. Let's go.
BuzzFeed Yellow has released a video called, 36 Questions Women Have for Men. I happen to be I'm going to answer these fucking questions. Let's get started.
How does it feel to be the same sex as Donald Trump?
Well, there's that zinger. Ooh, she's got me now.
I don't know. How does it feel to ask the most cringe question in all of existence?
How does it feel to be the same sex as Hillary Clinton or Camel Toe Harris? Just one.
Why do you hate rom-coms?
Hold on there. That's a little loud. Atheist, your mic game is off today.
Or do you just feel like you need to hate them?
I don't hate rom-coms. I actually like some of them. I do. You know, cold, lonely Saturday, it's raining. Fireplace is going. You put on Runaway Bride. That's what I do. It's me. And then I take a warm bath and put candles in there.
I don't inherently hate romantic comedies. I mean, I liked When Harry Met Sally. I liked Groundhog Day. I liked Roxanne. There are good examples of the genre.
Yeah.
By the way, my dad, who was a fucking misogynist from hell, who often told me if women didn't have pussies, we'd fucking hunt them for sport.
Oh my God. Well, you can't say those sorts of things these days, amazing atheists, on the internet, YouTube.
You know what his favorite genre was?
Rom-coms.
Romantic comedies.
Yes.
He loved that mindless fucking shit.
Yeah.
Sentimental fucking drivel. You know the reason I don't generally like romantic comedies? Because they're not interesting. They don't have good characters. They don't have subversive themes. They don't really say anything profound. But, you know, I can forgive all that if they at least had some of the cheap thrills that I do like. Mostly tits, ass, and violence. But they don't tend to have that either.
No.
So why the fuck would I watch them?
They occasionally
Everybody
have
likes
hits.
The Notebook. Everybody likes Beyonce.
No. No. No.
Just
I've never seen The Notebook, but I'm about 99% sure that I would revile it.
It's probably some sappy romantic bullshit for women. Whoa, you misogynist.
As for Beyonce, I like her tits. I like her ass. As a musician, performer, whatever, I don't like her.
I don't get I don't get the Beyonce. I don't get the Beyonce love. I mean, she's good. Her songs are fine, whatever, but who cares? It's just another woman singing.
Sorry. She doesn't even, her lyrics are insipid fucking pap. And her...
Then again, these days, amazing. They're all pretty much that.
She doesn't even write her own music or anything.
You remember the WAP song, don't you?
You know, you look at one of a Beyonce song, there's fucking 19 people credited as writing the music.
Yeah.
And then you listen to the music and it's some generic oons, oons, oons type shit. Some crazy... Does that really take 19 fucking people to write?
It's all garbage, really. It's
No.
Why do you make women sit around and talk about men in movies?
when y'all easily just sit around and talk about boobs for hours.
the Bechdel test we talked about yesterday. Yes.
You're asking me why I make women talk about men in movies?
Yeah.
What? I mean, you're aware that only a small fraction of people on this earth are involved in the art of filmmaking, right? And by the way, the movies that most involve a bunch of girls sitting around talking about men, romantic comedies, the very genre you just admonished me for not liking.
Yes, exactly.
The fuck? And
Right.
as for this idea that we talk about boobs for hours, that never happened. What? About the longest conversation about tits is like, damn, that bitch got nice titties.
Yep. No.
That's about it. Yeah.
I don't know where these people come from. Now, I know this is kind of supposedly a comedic little bit they're doing with these girls here, but I don't know about you guys. I don't sit around hey, John, what's up? Hey, did you see look at these tits here? Then again, with some of the guys I talk to, maybe, but it hasn't been a common thing for me. So I don't know what the fuck they're talking
Yes,
about.
you do.
Yeah. You got titties.
The only way that a conversation about tits lasts any longer than that is if you got that asshole in your group that's like, them titties is fake. And then you have to have a fucking argument for fucking 5 to 10 minutes.
I like to bury my head in them titties.
And then it's not hours.
Damn it.
Why do you automatically assume that you won't like TV or movies that star a female lead?
Again, why are we talking about fake fucking shit? Movies and fucking TV. Who cares? It's movies. I don't give a shit. Really?
Well, let's see. I like Star Trek Voyager. It's not my favorite of the Star Trek franchise, but female protagonist, female captain.
Sure.
I just watched the first episode of Jessica Jones the other night. I thought it was good.
Yeah.
One of my favorite shows growing up was Daria. I don't give a fuck if there's a female lead in a show. Why the fuck would I? I only care about if the show is good or not.
Yeah. Now we're supposed to start thinking you should put on your watch list or your read list or your movie list shit that was written by women and LGBT people. How in the fuck am I supposed to know? And why does it matter? It doesn't.
Are you surprised when women are funny?
I'm probably funnier than you.
Yeah, maybe.
No. You're actually not. Women are not as funny as men, generally speaking.
Why is that, though? Have you given that some thought?
Christopher Hitchens actually broke this down, but you guys are still attacking his fucking corpse over it. So maybe I shouldn't go any further.
Yeah, the thing is, I think you'll find many times the best personalities with females, and I know this is a general broad statement, but the women that aren't conventionally that attractive, because they have to develop something. Just saying.
Why do you think that we're obsessed with you when we hook up?
9 times out of 10, I just want you to leave too. I'm busy. I got shit to do.
Yeah, well, okay. All right.
Well, I'm a fat neckbeard, so I don't really hook up too often.
I'm with you.
People. The people I've had sex with in my life have generally been people I'm already in a relationship with.
Yeah.
Why can't I sleep with as many people as I want to without being judged?
You can. No, nobody cares. You can do whatever you want to, despite what your girlfriends tell you.
When men do it, they're congratulated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure they
No
are.
one can do anything without being judged. I get judged for the length of my hair.
There's that.
Or my weight, or my opinions, or my fashion sense, or lack thereof. I mean, what kind of world? You really think you're just going to be free from judgment, and the only reason you're being judged is because you're a woman?
Yeah, that's exactly what they think. Correct.
I mean, frankly, as far as I'm concerned, I don't give a shit how many cocks you suck per hour. You can sit there and have a fucking cockathon, just one cock after the next. Just tell the men to form a line and fucking bang you one after the another. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
After the another word. Another is not a word.
Why do you consider a woman a tease if she doesn't sleep with you after 3 dates, but a slut if she sleeps with you on the first date?
Well,
because she's obviously supposed to sleep with me on the second date. That's the right answer.
Okay.
In what world does no mean yes?
No means no.
Do I want to be watching this video right now?
No.
Yeah. And by yeah, I mean no.
Why do you say that women are too emotional to be leaders?
Then justify catcalling by saying men just can't control themselves.
What does one have to do with the other? Would be my first question. World leaders catcalling. Okay.
I've never justified catcalling, nor have I ever said that women are too emotional to be leaders. In fact, if it comes to Hillary Clinton, I think that bitch is too emotionless to be a leader. She's a sociopathic cyborg who will tell you what you want to hear.
Now, the Amazing Atheist is kind of smoothed in a different direction here lately, but you heard what he said about Hillary. She's too emotionless to lead
I
people.
think that just because you're nice to me, I owe you my body.
Sure.
First of all, I would never, ever
be nice to
you.
Oh.
But even if I were, I wouldn't expect your body in return. Just your pussy or your ass. That's all I need. That was a joke. I know you guys don't get
And your
those.
titties.
Joke.
You see the titties on that bitch?
Why would you ever send an unsolicited dick pic?
I wouldn't, because I'd have to send a microscope along with it. Now, I don't know how in the fuck this all works. How, if you wanted to do this, say you wanted to take a picture of your junk and send it to some anonymous person you don't know, how would you do that? You look up a name on the internet. Okay, Jennifer. Yeah, let's get Jennifer Johnson. Yeah, sounds good. Snap, boom, in her email. Who fucking does that? That's weird.
I wouldn't. My dick is too small. They
Exactly.
would just laugh. Before I send a dick pic to anyone, I have to give them like a giant
Microscope,
speech
yeah.
preparing them. Like, prepare for the TJ penis experience.
Yes.
All right, you're about to see my dick. There are several things you need to know before you see it. Yeah, so I'm not just sending unsolicited dick pics wantonly. It's banana videos that I'm just giving away.
Yeah, I mean, bananas. Yeah. But I mean, who does that? Honestly, let's go to the chat. Who the fuck does that? Seriously. I mean, you snap a picture of your wiener and you send it to some anonymous chick. Who does that? And what is the methodology? I mean, I would never do that. So how do they do? I just don't understand, man. I don't understand.
Why do you feel like it's okay to harass women or make offensive comments about women, but when somebody does it to your sister, it's not okay?
It's not correct, and I do not agree with women making, men making offensive comments to women or harassing them. I think that's disgusting behavior. And I'd be equally pissed off if somebody tried to do it to my sister. See, what is the going in assumption here? Well, you obviously support this, don't you? Because you're a man.
People can insult my sister all they want. She's an adult. She can handle her own bullshit.
How does it feel to interrupt me when I'm in the middle?
It's because you're an idiot and your point is probably not very good. But it's not because you're a woman, though. All right? Listen, it's not because you're a woman. It's because you're black.
Yeah, well, there's that.
Joke!
Whoa!
Another joke, right?
Yeah.
Look, the reason that men interrupt each other all the time, because most men are self-absorbed assholes who would much rather listen to themselves than
We like to hear ourselves speak. Yeah, I know.
someone else.
Why do you have to sit with your legs so wide open?
I get that you have balls, but I don't stand around with my arms wide open to make room for my boobs.
Well, because it's not this is Jesus Christ. Oh my God, help me. Go. Yeah.
All right. Well, I have boobs.
Moobs, yes.
And I have balls.
Yeah.
Big pendulous dangling ones too.
Huge.
And I can tell you from experience that they're different.
Yes.
It's not the same thing. Because first of all, when you close your arms are at your side. They're not even touching your fucking boobs. Maybe like glancing the side a little bit.
Yeah.
When you close all the way, your balls are crushed in between them like a fucking vice.
Yes.
It's not the same thing, you fucking moron.
Why are women perceived as the weaker sex, even though we literally birth you like watermelons through like this? Why?
Okay, well, you can do that thing because you're designed to do that thing. Men are stronger than women because we're designed to be. But,
Because men are generally physically stronger.
Why is it so bad to show your emotions?
It means you're human.
Plenty of men do show emotion. Plenty of women don't show emotion. It's an individual thing. Why can't people just show the level of emotion that they're comfortable with sharing? What's wrong with that?
Because they're not talking about general emotions. They're talking about emotions for them. The guy, the hot guy they're banging won't say he loves her. Oh my God. Why doesn't he say he doesn't love me? Probably because he doesn't. You know, there's that option.
Why are you always trying to prove your masculinity to me?
I ain't trying to prove shit to you, bitch. Want to fight?
Why the isn't it ladylike to cuss? When did words get gendered?
Words have been gendered since language was invented. You just, in case you missed it, Latin, Spanish, Romance languages, most other languages in the world, words are gendered. I know.
That point might have been a little stronger if you hadn't bleeped out the profanity. I mean, the whole point is, why can't women curse just like men can? But then you bleep out the woman cursing. It doesn't make much sense. I have no problem with women cussing, by the way.
Why is it your first instinct to doubt women who have been sexually violated or raped?
It's not. I will believe you. You said something happened. Let's go figure out what happened. Go to the hospital. Go to the police. Let's get it figured out. So, no, I don't doubt you.
It's not my first instinct to doubt them. It's just not my first instinct to automatically believe them. Because our justice system in this country and any justice system that could possibly be valid does not presume guilt. It presumes fucking innocence.
Title IX, anyone?
Innocent until proven guilty.
Mm-hmm. So you got to have proof for the assertion. You want to put a man in jail for 10 years, you better fucking be able to prove that something happened. And as we've talked about a million times, the R word, 2 people in the room, no witnesses. It's really, really difficult to prove one way or the other what happened.
An accusation is not proof.
Why do you assume a woman's angry because she's on her period?
Because women get angry on their periods.
Why do you think women that wear makeup are false advertising? We can say the same thing about your dick size.
Yeah, see, here's the deal, though. You're wearing fake up. Okay, you take the fake up off. It's like, ooh, okay. If I have a sock stuffed in my pants, if we ever get to the stage where I'm taking my clothes off, you'll notice I have a sock. See, it's different.
No, you can't, because my penis is small, and I admit that it's small. I've never gone out with a sock stuffed in my underwear.
Why not?
So everyone thinks I got this big hung bulge. I mean, what would be the point of that?
Right.
If a girl sees the big bulge in my pants, it's like, yeah, let's fuck, because I see you got a lot to work with, and then I pull out my real dick, she'd be like, whoa, false advertising.
Hold on.
Why isn't it weird that there's a bunch of old white men sitting in a room making legislation about what I can and can't do with my body?
Well, here's the deal. It's not just old white men. It's people of all stripes. Women, white men, black men, Hispanic men, gay men, straight women, gay women. There's all kinds of people. See, the biggest problem that you have is that a lot of people don't agree with your bullshit. It's called democracy. Mm-hmm.
You know what's even weirder than
suck on it?
That? It's so weird that women make up 50% of the population, therefore 50% of the voters, and yet they can't seem to elect anything but crusty old white men. And then they complain about it. These crusty old white men making all my decisions for me.
Right.
Well, we gave you the right to vote like 100 fucking years ago.
Yep.
Do something about it.
Do you have a coochie?
Do I have a coochie?
No, I do not.
No, I do not.
Why are straight guys so obsessed with lesbians?
Because they find the idea of 2 women having sex with each other to be erotically stimulating.
Ooh.
I don't share this fetish, but plenty of guys do have it. What's the problem with it? What's wrong with what they jerk off to in their own fucking privacy of their homes?
Yeah. Who cares?
Or if they can get 2 chicks to go at it while they watch, that's those girls' decision. What the fuck does it matter?
Yeah.
What do you care? Let them fap to what they want to fap to, you fucking uptight bitch.
How does it feel to get kicked in the balls?
It hurts.
It hurts.
Yes.
Do you ever get tired of trying to be manly all the time?
No, because I don't give a shit about manliness. I just try to be myself.
Why are you so afraid of gender equality?
I'm not.
Why do I deserve to be paid less than you?
In what world does 77 cents equal $1?
In what world does 68 cents equal $1?
The world that is in your head that doesn't exist in reality. That place it probably does. But here in the real world, where the rest of us live,
Was that fair?
It's fair because the way that you arrived at that figure is complete horseshit.
Yep.
They took the average salary of all men and the average salary of all women and stacked them up against each other and said, look, women don't make as much as men. Women make 77 cents on the dollar. Well, that's not an honest way of coming to that statistical realization.
Doesn't matter.
Right? Because it doesn't account for any other variables. It doesn't account for
Doesn't matter.
the differences in work behavior between men and women.
They've been spewing this bullshit for the last 60 years. Doesn't matter that the math is weird, that it's not the way to do it. It's incorrect. You're not doing this. You're not apples and apples. It doesn't fucking matter. It's a talking point. It's mythology. It's written in the grand book of feminism at this point, like the Bible.
At all.
Why are you intimidated by a woman who makes more money than you? That's awesome. More money.
No. Anyone who makes more money than me, man or woman, can go fuck themselves.
Why are opinionated women seen as bitches?
When opinionated men are seen as bosses.
Well,
why are opinionated men seen as assholes? Yeah, that's right, assholes, not bosses. Assholes.
Yeah.
Maybe maybe an opinionated guy is considered a boss if he actually is, the boss.
The boss. Yeah.
But if he's just some opinionated jackass sitting on his fucking lazy boy being like, them damn queers, like no one's like, that's my boss. Unless that actually is their boss. Yeah, that's Mike. He's my manager at Subway. He got some real crazy views about a hollow earth.
Why aren't you speaking up when you hear your male friends behind closed doors make jokes that are offensive to women?
Because if you're not there, why would it offend you? Why would it offend you if you're not there? Just curious.
Well, let's see. Because I'm not a woman and I'm not easily offended and I don't want to be the joke police. I have no interest in going around policing what sort of jokes people can tell. Hey, did you guys just tell an offensive joke? Yeah, I'm going to get invited back. Those guys are going to want to hang out again.
Sure.
Why are you so afraid of recognizing your own privilege? Doesn't mean you're a bad person. Just recognize it and do something about it.
Yeah, man. When you're an overweight neckbeard, loudmouth, obnoxious asshole, the sky's the limit. Any dream is possible.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you, privilege.
It's that invisible knapsack on your back there. Amazing. Don't you know what they say? They say, when you have privilege, you don't know you do. Gee, I wonder if women, no, just men? Okay.
All right, so that was this video.
He's always good for fun. I kind of like it. I've been nuked too. What did you get nuked? Why'd you get nuked? What's going on? Hey, Ginger Hamster, YouTube keeps censoring everyone's chat on the stream. Oh, it's not me. Sorry. It's not me. LOL, it's censored FJB. Really? Fuck Joe Biden? Really? Well, of course, I'm not looking at YouTube. I'm looking in the StreamYard. So maybe things are different over here because I don't know why they would be whacking your chat. I don't control YouTube. Sorry, guys. Type it, try it. Okay, type it. FJB. All right. Whoops. Wrong letter. You can do it. You can do it. You can type. FJB. Oh, there it is. It showed up here. Again, I don't know if it shows up on YouTube or not. Let's say the whole thing. Let's see if he's Joe Biden. That go? Went through here. But you just did. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Sorry. Again, I don't yours went through, not mine. Interesting. Are you on someone's shit list, YouTube trailer park? Are you being a bad boy? Is that what's going on? All right. Let's see. What time is it? Oh, it's 9:21. Do we have anything else we can talk about for a while? Yeah, it could have been maybe there was a glitch in the system. Let's go, Brandon. Yeah, where is Brandon? What is he doing? He was driving earlier. All right, hold on. Oh, yeah, we were doing this one. Okay. Are they still live? No. Jeez. was MGTOW was doing a stream. I guess I'm still I'm the only one watching because it's over. Oh no. Well, let's see what else is going on. Undead Chronic is live right now. So if you want to go there, let me find the linky doodle. Copy the link. So Undead Chronic is live. Yeah, I'm live too. Yeah. Paste. Let's see. I was looking for a raid. Shadow Legends sponsorship. Let's see. There's Brandon. Who else is here? Seriously Podcast. All right. What are they doing?
Codone or codeine? I think it was codeine.
All right.
Okay. And it was for the pain. Yeah, it was weaker stuff.
Raid.
But dude, so many of my friends were like, dude, can I get some of that? Like, can I
Oxycontin is not weak.
Yeah. And
Oxycontin is very strong.
You're talking about codone. Okay. Yeah.
I can't remember which one it was. It was the stronger one. It was the stronger one. All right.
That's probably the Oxycontin.
That's because they gave
Holy
me
shit. Father Saunders is in there.
But I never used it.
He's awake.
I had a headache for like a day and I was fine after getting my wisdom teeth pulled out. But all my friends were like, dude, can I get some of that? Like,
hey, Scotty.
What's up?
Hey, Scotty.
Yo.
Delilah did.
What?
Delilah did.
Huh?
I think he's trying to tell you.
Delilah did.
Yeah, I think
Delilah did. Synthetic morphine. Delilah did.
Diddle
Great
children?
shit,
Is that? He
baby.
just said diddle children, right? Yeah, he did. What the fuck?
No, I said Delilah did.
Yeah, I've never heard of that.
I misconstrued information and English.
Oh man! So you're talking about a synthesized version of morphine? That's crazy.
Morphine, Delilah did.
Okay, because morphine. Any of you guys that have ever had it before, you feel fucking amazing for like 6 minutes. And it goes away. Not because I did.
You keep hitting the button. You keep hitting the button.
I'm hitting buttons. Calm down.
Hit the fucking button, man. Because pretty soon they're going to be like,
Not
are
you, White.
Are you a drug seeker now? That's what they do, man. A lot of those people will go in there and they'll know the amount of cc's and what drug and what works and what doesn't. I'm not saying that I don't either, but that's usually the people that hop hospital to hospital. This is actually a thing. They hop hospital to hospital to get different medications. They try to do that even around here in Nebraska, dude.
I've heard of that. Yeah. Hamster's raiding us, by the way.
Well, see, my problem is
we've got his raid
I
up on the
keep
screen.
experiencing. My problem is I keep experiencing extreme physical trauma.
Well, your whole body,
medicine
you need that shit.
They're being. It's like, fuck, kill this shit.
Well,
They
there's
won't kill
many
anymore.
fucking surgeries and fucking broken shit that you've had in your life. You need a constant drip of that shit.
Son, you guys don't know.
Oh, I know. That's why I'm saying
It's amazing I'm still alive, let alone walking.
Yeah, dude. For those of you guys that don't know, Indy's got fucking more metal in him than fucking Wolverine.
Yep. You want to know drugs? I'll tell you.
Oh, I already learned from Marilyn Manson that drugs are made in California.
That's what I'm saying. I've been shot up with fentanyl, and I'm like, they're like, how are you feeling? I said, this ain't shit.
This ain't shit.
Fentanyl ain't shit, bitch. I get better shit from my friends.
Those are fucking beginner drugs. Those are beginner drugs, you son of a bitch. You go get me the good shit.
Yeah.
Well, there was one time, the first time I dislocated my knee, I went to the hospital. They gave me oxycodone, and a coworker of mine said, "Hey, I'll buy those from you for like whatever, however much per pill or whatever."
Nope.
And I'm like, "I'll think about it." I took one and I sat in my bed and I'm like, "Ooh, this."
No, I don't do that kind of shit. I don't want to be hooked on any of that kind of fucking crap. I think, knowing myself, if I started taking some of that shit, I'd be hooked. I'd be in the gutter, and I don't want to do that. So, all right, let's go to something a little more mundane. Oh no, music.
This winter so far has been wild. A historic Arctic front and accompanying blizzard struck the Great Lakes region, causing wind chills near 40 below zero.
Wind chills near 40 below zero? Oh, man, that's amateur night, eh? We got to get the Canadians in. Yeah, it's a moog. It's a moog, actually pronounced moog. I didn't know. Did you know that, Johnny? It's actually moog, but everybody says moog because, reasons. All right. Well, that was fun having a raid there on Scotty's channel. Okay, this is the blizzard of 1977. I like these old films like this. It is global. Actually, Mystery Man. Back in 77, they were predicting we were going to be freezing to death by 2020. We were going for the global ice age. See how they change it? Went from global warming to ice age to global climate change. It's a Dutch name. Yeah, is it Moog or Moog? I thought it's Moog, but yeah, synthesizers. Yeah, good stuff. All right, go.
The city of Buffalo has been declared a disaster area after receiving 50 inches of snow and 80-mile-an-hour winds.
50 inches of snow in Buffalo.
Just 1 month after receiving 80 inches in a separate catastrophic snowstorm.
Well, then again, Buffalo is on the lake, right? So you get lake effect snow all the time there. So maybe it's not such a big deal. Well, that seems like quite a bit.
Subsequent events to occur this January and February are likely to shatter some record books. In fact, some of those record books have 2 years at the very top of their rankings.
All right.
1977 and 1978. Yeah. If you happen to live in Ohio, Indiana, or Western New York, you've likely either experienced these winters yourselves or heard countless tales about the cold and snow from your parents.
God, that just brings back memories from when I was younger.
But was it really that bad?
Yes, it was. I was there. Yes, it was bad.
Well, today, amidst an unseasonably warm January, we're going to look at how these two winters topped the record books.
Actually, in 1979, 1980, where I lived, was a very warm winter, very unusual. But don't worry, winter made up for it. Not that much, not too many winters after that.
The ridiculous meteorology behind them and some of the most incredible stories to emerge from the wreckage.
Right.
First, what happens in winter in the United States? Well, let's start with the top of the atmosphere and work our way down. The sun is positioned south of the equator, so the northern hemisphere is getting less daylight overall. This means that the United States on a whole is much colder, but not the same temperature everywhere. High up in the atmosphere, there is a narrow band of fast winds coming out of the west called the polar jet stream. It forms along the boundary between mild air to the south and freezing cold air to the north. It's kind of like a highway for the upper atmosphere, and it forms a wave-like pattern as it wraps around the Earth. These waves are called Rossby waves, named after a guy, and are not stationary. They oscillate or move back and forth, diving and lifting, moving entire air masses with them.
You mean just like every other thing in nature, there's something to it?
Distance has to do with the balancing of forces in the atmosphere, the laws of physics and thermodynamics, a lot of stuff that you probably don't care about.
Science.
But just know that the position of the upper atmospheric superhighway is a huge indicator of the weather that's happening at the surface.
Brandon Trueblood has entered the building. Hello, Brandon. You have a shitty signal tonight, do you? Oh, no. That's terrible. Oh, my God. I'm so glad you're here, though. so glad you're here. I knew you wanted to see the blizzard because, reasons.
So, in the winter, the average pattern looks like this. There is a ridge to the west of the Rockies, which means there is warmer air on the west coast. Then to the east, the jet stream dives southward, which is called a trough, bringing freezing air to the Midwest. Let's pick a random winter date, January 9th, 2007. What did the jet stream look like on that day? A ridge over the west coast and a trough over the Midwest.
There you go. Yep.
Like I said, it is the mean state of the atmosphere. But as you probably know, deviations from the mean occur quite frequently. You can have ridges over the Midwest for most of winter, resulting in unseasonably warm weather. This is an inverted pattern, and a good example is January of 2020, one of the warmest Januaries on record since 1985. But you can also have an amplified pattern, which is a ridge over the west coast and a trough over the Midwest as usual, but both are much larger.
There you go.
This is what started happening in the fall of 1976. So we just learned that these Rossby waves oscillate. They swing down over the US and then lift back up over the Atlantic Ocean, which is why weather patterns change from week to week. But what if they didn't? What if for some reason there was a stable pattern where an unusually deep trough was just able to exist over the Midwest for an entire month? You see where I'm going with this? Blocking patterns are when particularly strong air masses block the normal oscillations that occur in the jet stream. This is how long heat waves occur in the Midwest. A blocking high pushes the jet stream further north for days, even weeks at a time. But there are other blocking patterns as well that can occur in winter. Winter of 1976 was interesting though because the flow of the jet stream was in phase or normal for that time of year. There wasn't a weird high pressure system out of place. Let's take a look at the Pacific Ocean in winter. To the north, you have an omnipresent area of...
Okay, this is interesting. I want to see pictures of the blizzard, though, is kind of what I was hoping for.
Having enough hay to feed them. Water storage in major reservoirs across the state was getting scarily low. It remains one of the driest years on record for California. In Washington, Oregon, and Idaho, the lack of moisture in the air resulted in very little snow in high elevations. This snow at the top of mountains is critical in supplying water to rivers and streams when it melts in the warmer months. Mount Hood usually sees about 140 inches of snow at 6,000 feet of elevation in winter. But in 1977, it sat at a mere 21 inches. So yeah, the amplified ridge over the western U.S. wreaked havoc on daily life in 1976 and 77. But
yeah, there was some weird shit going on with the air pattern.
What goes up must
probably nuclear weapons
come down. In 1,500 miles to the east, the Great Lakes region was dealing with an entirely different...
Right now at Aspen Dental, get new dentures with 60 months financing.
Dentures!
Book today.
Okay, good.
He died as he lived.
Okay.
A total sucker. Welcome to the Advantage family. We're dead serious about pet parasites.
And yes, I know there's a blocker button, but I figure you two probably
above
deserves
north
to get a
and
few
south
bucks.
poles exists the coldest air on Earth, swirling in a counterclockwise area of low pressure. This is called the polar vortex, and it strengthens in winter and weakens in the summer. The polar
And you know what we get down here as well? We get those Alberta Clippers, from Canada. It's cold.
Vortex doesn't exist in one small circulation. It shifts in all directions, even splitting into 2 or 3 smaller circulations, diving southwards over more southerly latitudes in the winter. A notable precursor to these cold air outbreaks is called a sudden stratospheric warming. This is when the air over 30,000 feet above the North Pole suddenly warms tens of degrees Celsius over the course of a few days. The warming temperatures can slow the counterclockwise circulation of cold air, even causing it to start rotating clockwise. The situation is similar to a spinning top. When the top is spinning very fast, it's relatively stable and doesn't like to move laterally. But when it starts to slow down, it begins to wobble and eventually falls over. Several weeks after the polar vortex weakens, the cold air can spill southward, causing well below average temperatures in the mid-latitudes, similar to the wobbling top. The issue with 1977 is that even without a major sudden stratospheric warming, October, November, and December were well below average for the eastern United States.
I do remember that. Yes, I do. I was there. Okay, let's see if we can get some pictures of that. There we go. Yeah. There we go. Come on. What do we have here? A
School
Pinto.
was once again canceled for several days due to wind chills 50 below zero, leaving school districts, parents, and children frustrated. On January 16th, the Ohio River completely froze over, allowing people to walk from Cincinnati to Newport, Kentucky for the first time since 1958.
Everybody get off the ice immediately, please. All the way up to the shore. Ma'am, you want to take your pictures on the shore, please?
The river remained frozen for several days, and since most oil arrived to the tri-state area by ship, the demand for gasoline was higher than the supply. Some 50,000 tons of rock salt for southern Ohio was also trapped on the frozen river. On January 17th, the historic Upstate Theater had caught fire in Evansville, Indiana, but the fire hydrants were physically frozen. Firefighters were finally able to warm them up, and upon spraying down what remained of the theater, The water froze into massive sheets of ice within a few minutes. In Cleveland, tow trucks were running 6 hours behind schedule. Water main breaks were creating sheets of ice on city streets. It's important to note here that all of this ice was unmeltable. Rock salt is unable to melt ice below negative 6 degrees Fahrenheit.
And you know what? They still spray it anyway, don't they? Yeah, it's 10 below zero. That rock salt ain't going to do it. Yeah, but when it warms up, it'll do just rust your car in the minute.
Their pipes from freezing. Then Governor Rhodes suspended an EPA regulation, now allowing the burning of high sulfur coal, saving natural gas for residential buildings. On January 20th, the leading edge of the historic cold front had made its way to Cuba, and the result was the first and only occurrence of snow in southeastern Florida in recorded history.
I remember that. My grandmother was, oh my God, it snowed. It never snows like south of Port St. Lucie, but it did that year.
Look at how far south this trough is digging. It's ridiculous. In the early morning hours, Tampa saw an inch of snow while Miami Beach had reached 32 degrees and saw a trace of snow, which melted before 10 a.m. It was also reported that the Bahamas to the east saw a wintry mix that morning. It was truly a once-in-a-lifetime event. As for the Midwest, temperatures gradually started to climb after the 20th, reaching the mid-20s by the 22nd, and stayed there for a few days. But this entire month, there was yet another catastrophe silently brewing. Remember how Lake Erie had frozen over in early January?
Oh, yes. Oh, God. I mean, if you live through it, I mean, it's like, oh, my God. Yeah, I remember that. That was a long fucking winter. By the way, 50 below zero 2 winters ago. Yeah, we laugh at you. Yeah, I know. You're up there in Duluth, so it's always cold up there. I know. Lake Superior freezes. That's pretty cool, actually.
Well, that powdery dry snow had accumulated into mammoth 3-foot drifts of top 10,000 square feet of ice just to the west of Buffalo, New York.
And
for the next several days, the ridge of high pressure over the western U.S. was building further and further to the north. And on January 25th, the area of high pressure was situated over Graham Island to the west of British Columbia. This was officially the furthest north that the ridge would build all year, and the resulting vorticity, or the spin in the atmosphere caused by the twisting of the jet stream, caused a constant barrage of Alberta clippers to form and eject southeastward to the Great Lakes, dropping inches of snow, causing localized power outages, then sharply turning to the north over Quebec. That was a run-on sentence. I bet you thought it would never end. Well, you're like a Midwesterner on January 25th, thinking that the cold and snow would never end.
Oh, God.
And unfortunately for them, that was the day that the strongest Alberta clipper developed. Within 48 hours, it plunged down over the Great Lakes, bringing a blistering Arctic front with it, containing 40-mile-an-hour winds and nearly a foot of snow. The low passed over Lake Superior, causing Ohio and western New York to receive the brunt of the cold air. The temperature dropped from 20 to 0 in 2 hours as the wind blew across Lake Erie and funneled into the city of Buffalo. The 10,000 square feet of light powdery snow that sat atop Lake Erie was launched into western New York on January 28th, and the result was catastrophic. Now, the Buffalo National Weather Service knew that this was going to be bad, but they hadn't used the term blizzard in any of their warnings. They knew that doing so would result in the closure of the majority of businesses and schools, essentially an entire city shut down. And in the 10 a.m. hour, they decided to issue the blizzard warning. The only problem was the Arctic front hit Buffalo just after 11. Several accounts told of a white cloud extending from the ground to the sky that was the first wave of snow picked up off of Lake Erie, carried east by the leading edge of the Arctic front. The blinding snow made it impossible to see across the street, and while many residents were still driving home after the warning was issued, they were faced with a choice: sit in their cars stranded or try to get home on foot. Many who chose to sit in their cars were buried within 15-foot snow drifts by the afternoon.
Oh, look at that. Oh, yeah. I wasn't in Buffalo, but I was somewhere where we got a lot of snow.
And many who walked home experienced frostbite in the 50 below wind chill. Because the snowflakes were so small, the high winds were able to compact the snow into dense, heavy sheets.
It's almost like cement at that point. I'm sure, Mr. E, you know what I'm saying, right? You get that really powdery snow and the wind just carves it into like cement. Try to shovel that shit. It's not fun.
So once a vehicle was buried, it was stuck there for a long time. And by the afternoon, many who chose to stay at work realized there was no way of getting home. 2,000 children were stranded across Western New York at various rural schools, and 13,000 people were stranded in various office buildings.
Reminds me when I was a kid.
In downtown Buffalo.
Wow.
By evening, the winds were now gusting to 70 miles an hour, and residents whose windows weren't physically covered by snowdrifts could not see across the street.
Now, Polska Bob, living in Chicago, you get this kind of shit, especially out in the suburbs. Yeah, you get that those winds coming across the flat land up there. It's like, oh.
Visibility was near zero. The police were essentially immobilized, so they asked ham radio operators to broadcast a request to use citizen snowmobiles, and many citizens came through. This allowed law enforcement and emergency management to drive atop the 30-foot snowdrifts, locate the 10,000 stranded vehicles, including school buses, and perform rescue operations for those in need of emergency care. The drifts were so high that snowmobilers had to avoid crashing into power lines and chimneys, which did happen. The wind ebbed and flowed over the next 48 hours, ranging from whiteout conditions to peaks of sunshine. Again, the radar at the Buffalo Weather Office showed nothing because this was all snow that had already fallen. Travel by any mode of transportation was banned in many Western New York communities.
Let's see. Dern and Iron Knuckles, 10 feet in Lansing. Yeah. That time of the year, yeah, or that 77, yeah, there's a lot of fucking snow, a lot of cold too. I remember that. It was just fucking brutal. And I had just moved to the Midwest from the East Coast, and we'd never had it like this out in the East. And you get out there, it's like, oh my God. We lived that in the 1992 Alberta Clipper Halloween. I think I remember that. Yeah, I believe I remember that as well. I was a little farther west than you, Mr. E, but yeah, in the same general vicinity. Oh boy, lake effect snow.
National Guard came in and cleared a few major roads near hospitals to provide ambulance access.
Right.
The wind gusts continued through Tuesday, making for an excruciatingly long 4 days of harsh Arctic blizzard conditions. By Wednesday morning, people were running out of food and resources, and the city of Buffalo just didn't have the budget to handle this type of situation. So for the first time in history, 9 counties in Western New York were declared by President Carter a federal disaster area resulting from the blizzard. In just 2 days, $220 million were lost in the economic shutdown, and workers in Buffalo lost $36 million in wages. After the federal declaration, nearly 1,000 troops from the U.S. Army, U.S. Air Force, the Marines, and National Guard took to the streets. The Salvation Army fed around 100,000 people, and the Red Cross fed an additional 50,000. Total damage from the storm was estimated to be $300 million. So when did normalcy return? Well, during the first week of February, the ridge of high pressure started to finally weaken, the Aleutian low started to move back to the east, and the historic amplified trough started to lift back to the north. And now the entire Midwest was above freezing, for many places for the first time in 40 consecutive days. For those people, it must have felt like summer.
I
take that back.
Yeah, it does. No, it does. It does feel like summer. After you live through, 40 below zero temperatures, it gets up to 10 or 15. It's like, shit, it's really warm out. Well, the summer of 77 was bad too, huh?
The summer of 77 was also extreme in temperature, especially on the East Coast. In July, a massive blocking high
wasn't the New York blackout in 77?
Developed over the southern United States, pushing the jet stream well into Canada, causing 100-degree temperatures from Phoenix, Arizona to New York City. This coincided with the infamous New York City blackout of 1977, where citizens took out their frustration with local government in the blazing heat. On July 17th, it was 96 in New York City and 80 in Miami. On July 25th, the blocking high finally collapsed, bringing relief to the Northeast, but not after multiple 100-degree days. So after one of the coldest Januaries on record and one of the hottest Julys on record, winter of 78 would be back to normal, right? Well, at least for the start of winter, in many ways it was. While at times the abnormally large ridge of high pressure returned over the West Coast, it collapsed within a few days and 40-degree weather returned to the Midwest and the Great Lakes. And while January of 1977 saw more Alberta clippers bringing snow and cold to the Midwest and the Great Lakes, it didn't see a lot of surface lows originating at more southerly latitudes, the ones that contain a ton of moisture and drop feet of snow. Those types of lows can't really impact the United United States when there is a historic trough that is pushing the jet stream down into the Gulf of Mexico. The lows that do develop just move over the Atlantic Ocean at that point. But in January 1978, the jet stream pattern was still pretty aggressive, albeit able to fluctuate due to the absence of intense blocking air mass.
No, I remember it very 1978. Oh yeah, that was a cold mofo, baby.
Thus, southerly surface lows were very much on the table. On January 15th, a surface low developed beneath a shortwave trough or a small kink in the jet stream over the Texas Panhandle. With polar air to the north and Gulf air to the south, it dumped a foot of snow on the Ohio River Valley on the 16th. Then, as the cold air and associated trough dug southeastward, another surface low developed over the Gulf of Mexico and moved over the Atlantic Ocean. This low likely wouldn't be a problem, though, at least not according to the National Weather Service, who believed it would move rapidly off the coast and result.
But it didn't, did it?
In a mere 3 inches
Perfect storm
of snow for New York City. But as it crossed over Norfolk, Virginia, unusually intense snowfall was happening to the west in mountainous West Virginia and Maryland. Throughout the day on the 20th, over a foot of snow fell across West Virginia, 13 inches fell in New York City, and 21 inches fell in Boston. The Hartford Civic Center, UConn's basketball arena, had collapsed due to the weight of 10 days of snowfall, this nor'easter being the final straw. People were rightfully upset that the National Weather Service's forecast had been so wrong. New York City and Boston were essentially shut down for several days, and the National Guard once again was called in to help with the cleanup. This is the nor'easter that nobody talks about, but it's important, and you'll soon see why. So far in the calendar year of 1978, we have seen 2 different surface lows with 2 distinct paths striking chronologically close. And that begs the question, what would happen if 2 different distinct surface lows originating in different areas collided?
What happens if they came together? Would it be the perfect storm?
Like, what if an Alberta clipper forming near Alberta crossed paths with a surface low originating in Texas? Well, let's think about it. Alberta clippers are very fast-moving. They contain high winds and very cold air, but they lack that moisture that you get from southerly surface lows.
The Canadians there, they send the Alberta clippers because they don't like us.
So they can cause some brutal wind chills and some cold spells, but they can't really dump feet of snow. Southerly surface lows can pick up a ton of moisture from the Gulf and dump it as feet of snow, but they lack that extremely high wind and intense cold. So by combining these two, you essentially get a high wind, high moisture Arctic bomb. The pressure would be much lower than a standard surface low, so all these thermodynamic processes are intensified. More moisture is getting sucked in on the southern side. Then the warm air rises and condenses.
The super bomb cyclone, people. Hey! The super bomb cyclone of 1978. Greta, just a thought in her daddy's nutsack back then. Her daddy was probably a thought in somebody's nutsack back then. I mean, who knows? Okay, this is going to be good. The super bomb cyclone.
Faster, releasing energy, freezing into ice crystals. Because the pressure is lower, the colder air moves faster around the backside, crashing down to Earth, all while being propelled by a brutal Arctic front. It sounds crazy, and it's a very rare situation. But it happened on January 25th. One more question before we dive in here. If a surface low develops beneath a trough of low pressure, how can 2 distinct surface lows develop 1,000 miles away from each other? The answer is that you can have 2 distinct separates air from tropical air masses. These maps that we've been looking at, the 500 millibar maps, are slicing the atmosphere a bit too low to really see the fastest parts of both jet streams. In fact, many times you don't even see the subtropical jet at all. But on January 24th, there were 2 distinct areas of low pressure aloft in 2 separate troughs. The northern low cut off by the polar jet stream and the southern low cut off by the subtropical jet stream. The important part is that these 2 jet streams merged, which happens often over Michigan, so any surface lows that were to develop would follow the flow of the jet streams and potentially merge as well. Beneath the eastern side of each trough where vorticity was maximized, remember that's the spin in the atmosphere, 2 surface lows developed along the tight temperature gradients. The northern low and Alberta clipper along the Arctic front, the southern low ingesting millions of gallons of water from the Gulf. The southern low began to track to the northeast, bringing an area of rain to its northwest. The Alberta clipper, now tracking over Minnesota, brought moderate snow to the entire state.
And it was cold.
In the evening hours on the 25th, several incredible things happened. First, the lows merged and intensified at an unprecedented rate. Cyclones are, of course, areas of low pressure, and how low that pressure is correlates with the intensity of the cyclone. If the pressure at the center of a cyclone is abnormally low, then the cyclone is abnormally intense, and the central pressure of this cyclone was falling fast. An entire swath of precipitation now existed in a southwest to northeast oriented line along.
This might have been the lowest millibars ever recorded. I'm not sure if it was this one, but
the Ohio River Valley. To the west, blizzard conditions existed in Indiana, Illinois, and Michigan. But to the east, in Ohio and Kentucky, it was balmy, mild, and rainy. It rained so much that 20 bridges were washed away in Pike County due to severe flood. As residents of Tibet observing 50-degree temperatures and rain, they found it hard to believe that a historic blizzard was on the way. As the low continued to deepen and move northeast throughout the night, something wild happened. This here is a warm front that usually exists on the northeastern side of mid-latitude cyclones. In fact, here is the typical structure of a cyclone. Warm front moving northeast with warm air to the south. Cold front stretching to the south with cold air plunging down from the northwest. And in the winter, there is also an Arctic front containing much colder air stretching to the northwest.
From Canada.
Compare this typical structure with our supercyclone shown here at 5 a.m. on the 26th. What is happening with that warm front? Is it actually moving to the west into the Arctic front? Yes. That is the rarest Pokemon, the westward moving warm front. Now keep in mind this warm air was about 25 degrees and the Arctic air was around 0. So warm is a really relative term. But nonetheless, warm air was getting entrained into the cyclone at remarkable speeds, causing explosive snowfall in Michigan, Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. That was all enhanced by the relatively warm Great Lakes. Unlike 1977, the lakes were largely unfrozen, which allowed lake effect snow to break records in Michigan. At around 7 a.m., the third lowest pressure ever recorded in the United States was observed directly below the center in Mount Clemens, Michigan at just 956 millibars. Wow. This was now a Category 5 blizzard, having the highest possible societal impact due to extreme blizzard conditions. And speaking of societal impacts, let's talk about what people woke up to on the morning of the 26th.
Yes. Remember, it was, 50 degrees the night before. We might have to do that one. The Rapid City flood of 1960.
In the 5 a.m. hour, a line of storms containing thunder, lightning, and graupel, and eventually snow was bearing down on northwest Ohio and southeastern Michigan. But by 6 a.m., the Arctic front had punched through northwestern Ohio, resulting in a changeover from heavy rain to heavy, giant snowflakes and 60-mile-an-hour winds with 80-mile-an-hour gusts. By 7 a.m., the temperature had plummeted from 40 degrees to near 0. For all intents and purposes, this was a cold hurricane bearing down on Ohio and Michigan. With power outages occurring early on, temperatures within homes in northwest Ohio plummeted to dangerous values. And those living in trailer parks were at serious risk for hypothermia if they had no way of getting heat. Once again, ham radio became essential for communication with those in rural areas without power or phone service. By mid-morning, 100,000 vehicles were left abandoned on highways and state routes in Michigan as driving became impossible. There were several tragic incidents of people needing medical attention during the blizzard but having no way of getting to the hospital. One of which was a dehydrated newborn who by some miracle was transported via helicopter, which had to be defrosted with industrial heaters. The baby survived the flight and ultimately lived.
Great.
Another family had their front door blown in by the storm and were also rescued by helicopter. Workers were desperately trying to clear the roads, but because of high winds, once they cleared a path, it would just get covered in snow again.
This was like Minnesota. This was 1978, Haywood. 1978. So there were some other real fucking barn burners. Might have to talk about one. Another, we might do one more. What the hell?
Following the blizzard, President Carter declared Ohio a disaster area, and the National Guard was sent in with gear on C-130s to help clear the roads and supply food and shelter to those in need. Many troops were of the same battalion from Fort Bragg who helped the city of Buffalo the year prior. When the winds associated with the Arctic front died down a few days later, the roads were still not clear, covered with packed snow and ice. Residents in need of food began walking several miles to stores, carrying groceries back on sleds. The only thing that supermarkets were short of is bread and milk because in the 20th century, those are the things that you would panic buy. Apparently now it's toilet paper. The storm was responsible for 51 deaths in Ohio and another 20 in Michigan. 24-hour snowfall records were set in Grand Rapids, Houghton Lake, and Dayton. It was incredible to see local communities and local businesses mobilize and really come together to help those in need. In fact, a few Northwest Ohio local companies came together to create a little blizzard souvenir.
The firms are marketing Survivor t-shirts. These are message shirts which let others know that the wearers survived the blizzard of 78.
Now, I mean, look at these people, too, with the long hair and shit back then, and the bell-bottom jeans, and oh, my God.
Of course, those on the East Coast may well think all this Survivor talk is premature. You feel you are making light of what was a serious event for Northwest Ohio, at least.
Yeah, I think some of the people think along those lines, but I had it as bad as anyone, and we were without power and water and one thing or another, but I still think that a blizzard only comes along maybe every 100 years. So, I think it's a memorable occasion, and, we're not trying to cash in on anything. We're just trying to give the people what they really want.
Or just give people, have a little fun, Jeez, even back then, people are bitching. It's like, what are you going to do in a blizzard? You survive. There's nothing you can do. If you don't survive, you don't survive, right? Jeep.
The historic low drifted off to the north. Temperatures were stuck in the teens and 20s for all of the Midwest. In fact, the state of the atmosphere looked scarily similar to January of 77. A large ridge formed off the west coast, and a deepening trough existed over the Midwest and East Coast. And on February 5th, the Arctic air once again came surging south, this time digging further southeast. This put the area of greatest vorticity over the Atlantic Ocean, which was bad news for New England. A surface low had developed over the ocean, and due to a sharp temperature gradient between the cold land and the warmer ocean, it quickly gained speed and intensified following the flow of the jet stream. Cold air aloft surged into southern Ontario and New York as the low approached the coast from the south. The moisture from the ocean condensed rapidly and produced explosive snowfall as it approached New England at a rapid pace. However, something was different about this particular extratropical cyclone. To the northeast over Quebec was an area of dense air and high pressure at the surface, which was obstructing this low from continuing north. This caused the low to stall out off the coast of New Jersey, giving southern New England an extra 12 hours of snow. And here is where the nor'easter that struck 2 weeks earlier on January 20th came into play. As the low moved up the coast on the evening of February 5th, forecasters predicted that snow on the northern side of the low would move into the Boston area early on Monday the 6th. Many people woke up expecting to see snowfall and instead saw nothing. So their confidence was once again shaken in the Weather Service. And with only 6 inches being forecasted, a lot of them just said, screw it, I'm going to work. Unfortunately for them, snow started falling by the early afternoon, and then the wind hit. While many people tried to leave work early, traffic slowed to a crawl, then eventually a standstill. By the evening, winds in the Boston metro were now blowing at over 50 miles an hour, and thousands of drivers abandoned their cars on the interstate. 14 drivers who became trapped in their vehicles unfortunately died of carbon monoxide poisoning. On the shores of Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Rhode Island, conditions rivaled a Category 1 hurricane. 110-mile-an-hour gust hit Scituate, Massachusetts, accompanied by
110 miles an hour. Holy shit.
8-foot waves and a storm surge of 16 feet. Unfortunately, the blizzard occurred during a time of particularly high tides coinciding with the new moon. This caused water to severely flood coastal areas, destroying 2,500 homes. Boston hockey fans who had trudged out to Boston Garden to watch the annual Beanpot tournament were shocked when exiting the arena after midnight. With a foot of snow already on the ground, some fans spent the next few days at the arena stranded, eating concession stand food. Throughout the early morning hours on Tuesday the 8th, the nor'easter had stalled, made a small loop back into the Atlantic, and continued on its path northeast to Maine. By late evening, Boston had seen 27 inches of snow, and shockingly, Moonsocket, Rhode Island saw 38 inches in those 33 hours. Both cities saw record 24-hour snowfalls. Power was out in Boston and Providence for a week. Fenway Park was used as a base for the National Guard to come in, clear roads, and set up shelters for 10,000 people. A week-long travel ban was instituted in Boston, something that wouldn't be repeated until the 2013 nor'easter. And yes, t-shirts were also made. For the rest of February, temperatures struggled to make it out of the 20s for most of the Midwest, with the East Coast being about 10 degrees warmer. But this was the last generation-defining snowstorm to impact the U.S. in two of the coldest winters in recorded history. So to answer our question, looking back, were the winters of 1977 and 1978 actually as bad as people remember?
Yes. I remember. I was there. I lived through it, especially the cold. Staying alive. Picturing hamster with, you know what, Gaia, I actually have a pair of bell-bottom jeans that I bought in 1979. A little late, missing the trend there, but I still have them somewhere. I don't fit in them anymore. I was probably a size 28 back then. I'm a little bit bigger now than I'm an old fat hamster.
Yes, and I would argue that Buffalo, New York is the only city in the U.S. currently seeing a winter that rivals 1977. And even then, this has been a ridiculously warm January. I would also put the North American cold wave of February 2021 in that category, particularly for how it affected Texans.
I like
if
weather
a winter
corn.
like 1977 were to happen today, we would be able to accurately forecast it. Not that that would prevent a chaotic aftermath, but it would certainly help to know exactly what was coming. And finally, a record-setting weather pattern is similar to an economic recession. It's not one singular thing that causes a shrinking economy. It's many factors intertwined into a complex cause and effect relationship. And the same can be said about the winters of 1977 and 1978. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. That really helps me out. And if you have a personal memory that you'd like to share about any of the blizzards that we talked about today, feel free to share it with us in the comments below. Hope you guys like this big video. It took me pretty much all of January to produce, but I'll be back in February with more tornado-related content. See you then.
I don't know how many of these T-shirts will be around come August, but they're bound to be a big seller over the next few weeks.
Wish I had one.
Look back and remember the big blizzard of 1978. I'm Jim Proctor, Toledo.
To you, our Queen D3 mattress.
All right. One second here. Got to get it set up here. Hold on. All right. Rapid City floods, 1972. Rapid City, South Dakota. Let's jump into that here. It's only 9 minutes long, and it's one of my favorite guys, Plainly Difficult. He does a really nice job. I will put the link.
It is a summer in Rapid City, and many in this medium-sized town settle down to watch TV and eat dinner. The area has seen several days of heavy rain, culminating
this is the wrong
in
flood,
an
but that's all right.
intense-
It's
in
good.
an storm. Puts a damper on the Friday night, but the subdued and miserable start to the weekend, just a few hours later, would feel like a high point. As the final few hours of the 9th of June 1972 played out, disaster would strike. The Canyon Lake Dam, groaning under the strain of the heavy shower, failed, sending millions of gallons of water hurtling towards the some 43,000 residents in Rapid City, South Dakota, USA below. The 4 flood sirens intended to give residents warning failed to activate, meaning the occupants of the city would be at the mercy of the torrent of water heading for them. The resulting flood of damage would be one of the nation's worst dam failures, killing an estimated 238 people. The event would not leave as much to a mark on the national psyche as the Johnstown flood or the tombstone of St. Francis Dam, but the financial and human cost would be just as horrific. Today we're looking at the Rapid City Dam failure, and I'm going to rate this disaster here 7 on my scale and here 5 on my legacy scale.
I was thinking this was another one, but that's all right. This will work. This will be fine.
Our story starts over 30 years before that fateful summer evening.
Okay.
It is 1935, and the USA is languishing in the Great Depression.
Good night,
And
James.
millions are unemployed. Politicians at the time across the world are faced with an economic nightmare. Many homeless, jobless, and helpless are created after the Wall Street crash of 1929. One such solution to the employment crisis, at least
to
in
make
the United
dams.
States,
That's what we did.
is to make lemonade with lemons, so to speak. With so much available manual labor, an idea to develop the country's infrastructure
later, Grinch.
is posed by the government under FDR. It seems like a golden bullet for the country's economic woes, providing jobs and in return improving the nation's infrastructure. On the 6th of May 1935, FDR issued Executive Order 7034, establishing the Works Progress Administration. High manual labour to the new park, building roads, and even one such project was just 7 miles outside of Rapid City, South Dakota. The idea was to build a reservoir for recreational activities for the nearby residents. This wouldn't be the first project in the area, as in 1936, a dinosaur park was opened by the Works Progress Administration. To create a reservoir, the Rapid Creek needs to be blocked off upstream of Rapid City. To create the block, the Canyon Lake Dam was built, a 20-foot high, 500-foot long, simple earth-fill structure with a spillway. The new dam would hold back the 192 acre-feet recreational reservoir. Like all dams similar to this, the spillway is vital in keeping the weight of the water from overcoming the structure. The spillway employed gates which allowed control of the reservoir's level, for example, when heavy rain is anticipated.
Yeah, we get that. Go ahead.
Stream of the dam into Canyon Lake Reservoir, where it accumulated. As water worked its way down the downstream face, it started to erode the soil on the top. The main structure would withstand 45 minutes of punishing flash flooding, but eventually disaster would strike, and a total failure of the central part of the dam happened. This released millions of gallons of water down the Rapid Creek towards Rapid City. Meanwhile, many in the city downstream settled down for an evening in some homes due to...
See, the one I was trying to find is that I don't know what year it was. I'm going to have to look it up. We might have to do it. It's really interesting. It was, I believe it was Rapid City, and I don't know it. I think it was in the 60s. What happened was there was a winter storm that came through, dropped a bunch of snow, like 2 feet of snow or 3 feet or whatever, a lot of snow. And like the next day or next couple of days, the temperature got up to like 70 degrees, right? So they had a blizzard. 2 days later, it's summer. And all this snow rapidly melted and caused something to happen. Some major flood, killed a bunch of people. It was terrible. But I mean, that's the weird part about South Dakota. If you've never lived there or if you've never been there, the weather can change like that. It can be 75 degrees and the next day it's snowing. Or it could be snowing and the next day it's 75 degrees. It's really weird. But that's the way it works. Just the old saying is, if you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes and it'll change. Anyway, we've got on 2.5 hours. You guys have a good night. We will see you more this weekend, Memorial Day weekend. Bye-bye.